Good morning. Can we all remain standing for a moment of silent prayer and meditation? Thank you very much. You may all be seated. Let me take this opportunity to acknowledge our Honorable Premier, members of the Executive Council, leaders of political parties, the Chief Whip, Deputy Chief Whip, presiding officers, all members of the Provincial Legislature, ladies and gentlemen, all our guests sitting in the gallery. You are all welcome. In terms of apologies, I know that Honorable Alberts, who was supposed to be here by now, but he requested to leave early. We also received 2 other apologies. Mpume? Mpumelelo? The 2 other apologies. Honorable Dilange is also not well. And Honorable Musupia, who will be late. Thank you very much. Those are the 3 colleagues, please, you don't have to be excited. Honorable Shabalala, don't be excited, please. I'm talking and we are talking, please. Thank you. We only received 3 apologies, one from Member Alberts, who has not yet arrived, although he wanted to leave early. Honorable Dilange, who is also not well today. And Honorable Musupia, we wish Honorable Dilange a speedy recovery. Those are the only apologies that have been received by us. In terms of announcements, we wish to send our deepest condolences to Honorable Alberts, who has lost his mother. And as soon as the final arrangements have been made, I will inform members so that we're able to provide support where we can. Thank you very much. And honorable colleagues, another announcement is that on Monday, I was highly disappointed by our conduct as honorable members. Honorable Nell, please. Because whatever happened at Nasrec, we should always, as members, rise above and behave. But most of the havoc was started by us. And I'm sure it will never happen again. Because if it is members of the public that are starting havoc, we'll have our own way of dealing with them. But if it is started by us, it's a big embarrassment. I'm sure it's not going to happen. And for some of the members, especially those that were using vulgar language, I am going to be calling them in the office so that we can engage on those particular matters, especially those that I have heard through my own ears. And also what I've observed, all the members who misbehave will also be calling them, because it is really uncalled for to behave in that particular fashion. Thank you very much. Honorable Makhene, you also requested to make an announcement.
Thank you, Speaker. Member Masolong will do it. Member Masolong.
Honorable Masolong.
Thank you, Speaker.
Speaker, the EFF would like to invite all the people of Gauteng to the launch of its provincial manifesto, which will be taking place at the Dobsonville Stadium in Soweto on the 2nd of March 2024. Come one, come all, including you, Speaker, and the Premier, and all the honorable members in this House. You are all invited. Thank you very much, Speaker.
I'm sure you know, Honorable Soleng, I'm sure you know we do have personal assistants. If the invites can go direct to the offices so that they can manage the diaries. If there's no formal or official, it will be a big problem. Thank you very much. Any other member who wants to make an announcement? Chief Whip, Chief Whip, Chief Whip, Chief Whip, thank you, Chief Whip. Honorable Masugu, just leave Honorable Fikwe. She was behaving so well this morning, so don't disturb her. Any other member who wants to make an announcement? There is none. Thank you very much. Colleagues, in accordance with Part 4 of the Conflict of Interest Code and Disclosure Framework for members of the Gauteng Provincial Legislature, members are required to disclose particulars of all their registrable interest within 30 days after opening of the legislature or appointment of the member. Noting what I've already alluded to, all members are required to complete and submit their declaration of interest to the Office of the Integrity Commissioner at the earliest convenience and not later than the 30th of March 2024. So the deadline is 30th of March 2024. Thank you very much. ABC statements in terms of Rule 79, subsection 1, we have not received anything. Member statement in terms of Rule 81, subsection 1, Honorable Mdlankomo.
Thank you, Speaker. Madam Speaker, on Monday, during the last SOPA of this sixth administration, as EFF, we have noted with concern the substantial deployment of security forces to deal with the elected members of EFF. We first noticed the animosity towards EFF members when we entered the venue singing before SOPA started. We were welcomed by members of security in white t-shirts. They prevented us from entering the precincts. We doubt if they did not know us as MPLs. From what we could observe, they were acting from instructions given to them prior to our arrival. Yes. Speaker, this thing of yours together with ANC of taking house sittings to conference venues outside the legislature venue and invite ANC hooligans to come and attack members of this august house is uncalled for. Security guards with live ammunition were inside the chamber. Our lives were threatened by the outgoing Premier Lusufi. Gauteng is in serious trouble because it is regarded as the capital city of crime. And to our surprise, 7,117 Amapanyaza occupied a quarter of the venue just to clap hands for their boss, Premier Lusufi, instead of being in their areas of deployment fighting crime. Speaker, Gauteng crime stats for the second quarter 2023 to 2024 financial year. We have noted as the EFF that crime remains high in this province, which shows that no one is safe. And for you to allow criminals with assault rifles into the chamber on Monday is a matter of great concern. As I conclude, Speaker, on the 20th of February, there was a gunpoint robbery by gang and of thugs at M1 Highway intersection M2 Jimiston. Only EFF, JHB, MMC, Commissar Dr. Mgcinichwaku responded, and your Amapanya inexpensive German cars were nowhere to be found. Otherwise, do not be comfortable, because after the 29th of May, you will all kiss this abuse of power goodbye. Thank you.
Honorable colleagues, thank you, thank you. Honorable Diale Tlabela. Honorable Diale Tlabela, please don't start, please, thank you. Honorable colleagues, I've also received a request from Honorable Modise, who is not here as yet, to do the member statement, but I will just pass because he's not here and I'm not advised as to who will do it on his behalf. Motion without notice in terms of Rule 120, Honorable Makubela.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, presiding officers, members of the executive and the Premier, as well as our guests. I, Member El Makubela, the ANC Chief Whip, hereby tables the following motion in terms of Rule 121 and Rule 122 of the standing rules as follows. Noting that the Premier's reply to the debate on the State of the Province Address 2024 was not programmed for today's House sitting of Thursday, the 22nd of December 2024. And further noting that the Premier has made a special request to reply to the debate on the State of the Province Address during today's sitting. Therefore, I request that the House resolves as following: that we include the Premier's reply to the debate on the State of the Province Address 2024 to the orders of the day. I so move, Madam Speaker.
Any seconder to the motion? Oh, yes. Any seconder? Honorable Malima.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and greetings to the House at large. I rise to second. Thank you very much.
Motion seconded. Can we therefore put Honorable Masilela, please? Masoleng, please. Honorable Masoleng. All those in favor say yes. Yes. All not in favor say no. The yes have it. The motion is adopted by the House. I want to check if is there a member who wants to give a notice of a motion in terms of Rule 121. There is none. Thank you. Colleagues. Honorable Mayile, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Honorable Masilela. No, Honorable Masilela, please. Honorable colleagues, we are having stakeholders from Sidibeng in Everton, our young people in the gallery. You are all welcome. But while I welcome you, I want to warn you that we have the rules. Don't address stakeholders, please. Honorable stakeholders, our guests, we also have Councillor Mthembu from Mfuleni. I want to warn all our guests that we do have the rules that guide as to how we conduct ourselves. So as members of the public, you are only here to observe, not to participate. And your participation means you can't answer phones here. You also can't clap hands. You can't make noise. We'll request that we be respected because this House belongs to honorable members. But also members, I also want to remind you that in terms of your conduct as well, it is guided by the rules. Thank you very much. Colleagues, I also want to bring to your attention Rule 80, Section 2 of the Standing Rules, read with Section 117 of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, in terms of the freedom of speech. Section 117 of the Constitution reads as follows: members of the provincial legislature have freedom of speech in the legislature subject to its rules and orders. In accordance with section 117, that is rule 80, must be allowed to speak and debate freely in the House and its committees as and when recognized by the presiding officer in line with the orders of the day and the speaking list. So you must be recognized first before you can speak. Both the Constitution and the standing rules are therefore fundamental in ensuring orderly debate and effective conduct of parliamentary business. The standing rules relating to order and debate are aimed at not limiting freedom of speech, but guiding debate in the context of freedom of speech to allow reasonable and open consideration of controversial issues. The standing rules also seek to promote the responsible exercise of the privilege of freedom of speech. Procedures imposed by the standing rules are also designed to allow this to be done in an orderly manner. Rule 77 of the standing rules provides that at the end of each speech, according to the speaking list, any member, including members who have already spoken in the debate, may indicate to the presiding officer that he or she wishes to ask a question or make a remark directly related to the speech, and that remark should be short. Here, a member may rise at the end of the speech to indicate to the presiding officer that he or she wishes to ask a question or make a remark. Members may not interrupt during the speech to ask a question or make a remark. But also don't call my name, just raise your hand. The presiding officer must use his or her discretion to call on members to speak during open time. So I'm sure that one is also clear. Rule 83, subsection 2, provides that a member who wishes to speak in a debate but is not on the speaking list must indicate his or her wish to the presiding officer by rising in his or her seat or by a show of a hand. This rule is only applicable if the party to whom the member belongs to has free time available. If there is no free time, the member will not be able to rise under this particular rule. Rule 88 provides that members may interrupt a member who is speaking in a debate only to raise a point of order, or raise a matter of privilege, or call attention to the presence of an unauthorized person. And an unauthorized person should be here, not in the gallery there. Rule 94 provides that in the House, every member of the legislature, I think that one is not so important. And Rule 53 provides that when in the precincts of the legislature, members of the public must conduct themselves in an orderly manner. I think I've already alluded to that. And members attending a plenary meeting of the legislature may not disrupt proceedings and must observe the directive of the member presiding over the House. Can I therefore call the Secretary to read the first order?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The first order of the day is the debate on the Premier State of the Province Address 2024.
Honorable Msimango.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much. Kidumedise, members of the legislature. But more importantly, let me greet the people of Gauteng and the people of South Africa. Madam Speaker, it will be a mess if we go on as business as normal without mentioning the fact that we, for the first time in the history of this legislature, had a paramilitary coming to be part of the legislature with guns. I've attended the legislature for about 13, 14 years, as a guest and also as a member. And never in this history have we ever seen legislatures who are supposed to be protected by yourselves, Madam Speaker, having the paramilitary with guns standing in front of them. Democracy cannot and will not prosper. Democracy cannot continue if indeed the barrel of the gun becomes the order of the day. And this is something that I think we are going to need to take into consideration going forward, that this kind of thing should never, ever repeat itself. Madam Speaker, previously, in the last year, we were told during the State of the Province address about all the plans that were going to be implemented. We were told about all the money that was going to be spent. And in fact, one Dr. DeForce, when analyzing the State of the Province address last year, says this is the state of how to spend money. We were told about all these plans that we were going to be getting and all the money that was going to be spent in order to make the lives of South Africans a whole lot better. Amongst one of those things, and I would want to quote the Premier here, we will engage the Johannesburg Municipality City Power as well as the Swaneroeval facility to initiate and support them to expand and generate more power. We would also spend, or we will release 1.2 billion rand to resolve the energy crisis. In a few weeks, we will appoint 6 developers who will commence the construction of an 800 megawatt solar farm in Mirafo. I would have thought that by now we would be told these are the companies that have won the tenders or have been appointed. This is the work that has already been done, and this is the results thereof. Instead, what we are told is that we have to wait until the 31st of March again for the process to then get going. Why are we subjected to that? I hope that the Premier, wherever he is listening and will be able to then respond to us, Madam Speaker, because it's pointless to be debating and to be raising things when the Premier is not here. And I think we are being disrespected, Madam Speaker. We are being disrespected. I don't think that we should be continuing. This is the debate to the Premier, and the Premier is not even here. I don't think any one of us should be continuing.
The Premier must come and respond. Whoa. No, honorable members, please. When there is a debate, is the debate to the House, you're addressing the House, not an individual.
No.
Honorable Simang.
Madam Speaker, this is a debate to the speech and to what the Premier had to say to us. If the Premier is not in the House to listen, what is he going to be responding to? I don't think we should be continuing. The Premier should be here to come and participate. What is it that he's going to be responding to? No, we must not be disrespected here. We really must not be disrespected here.
The House must adjourn. Call your whips. So he must not speak. Sit down. What is he going to respond to? And he went outside.
Honorable Mukwebo.
What is going to respond?
Ask the members to keep quiet. Honorable Mukwebo. Honorable Mukwebo. Honorable Mukwebo. Honorable Mukwebo, we are not going to start singing in the House. And Honorable Masoleng, we are not going to join in the singing. Can I request your maximum discipline? If you want me to call you honorable members, be honorable even in your conduct, colleagues, please. Honorable Simang, when you address the House, when you raise a speech, you are addressing the House, not an individual. That is the reason many a times when people are pointing to a person or naming I always say, please address the House, not a person. But if you don't want to actually abandon your time for speaking, I will allow you to do that. Whether the Premier is here or the Premier is outside, we don't know how he is going to respond. He might be hearing you wherever he is. We don't know, as I'm sitting here. The rules are clear, address the House and not the person.
Then the Premier to talk, Mr. President.
Honorable Mukwebo, are you intentionally disrupting this House? Honorable Mukwebo, can you stand up and apologize for your behavior?
No, I apologize, Speaker.
Honorable members, Can you continue? Chief Whip, I see your hand. I'm not sure which issue are you raising. I want to allow Honorable Msimang to continue. And your time has been paused. Ne? You must know that.
No, thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. The House is governed by rules. And therefore, you read the rules of the reply to the debate on the State of the Province address. No member of this House, even when they think they are very important, can stop at any given time because they are saying the Premier is not here. The minutes that I've passed, they need to be added to the minutes of Honorable Msimanga. He has forfeited them. He has forfeited those minutes because we are not here. Because we are not here. We are not here to be run by common sense. Speaker, thanks.
Honorable members, I'm sure I read the rule that if you want to speak, you must be recognized. Honorable Nell, I allowed the Chief Whip to speak. Please. Thank you very much. Can we allow Honorable Msimang to continue with the debate?
Thank you very much. You can add even 30 minutes. Rule 77.3 allows me to speak unlimited in this House here. So even if you add 30 minutes, I can still add another 30 minutes on top of that. The Premier will sit here and the Premier will listen because we are addressing issues that is taking responsibility. No. I'm debating.
Get to the debate.
I'm continuing with the debate. I am continuing with the debate. Speaker, the Premier said to us.
Okay, whoa.
Order.
Honorable Maile, maybe you must mention the rule first.
You are one of the rules. I wanted to address this one. I cannot do rules. I wanted to address this one.
Honorable Msimango, you can now speak. Honorable Masilela, you are so disruptive today.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I was saying that we were told that the government will act, this provincial government will act in urgency and convene an inaugural Energy Solutions Expo to solicit views on what is existing in the market and with the idea that will be created and the partnerships that will be formed in finding the lasting solutions. As things stand, we are still told of the plans that are still going to be unraveled, and we are still told of what is going to be happening in the next 2 or 3 months. We are told that we will hear of a plan by the 30th of March. We were told that 6 companies will be employed and there will be a releasing of 1.2 billion rand towards the resolving the energy crisis. As you can hear, Madam Speaker, we're still sitting with stage 6 at some point of load shedding. We were told, Madam Speaker, that they have learned from the PPE scandals that they will ensure that the Gauteng Ethics Advisory Committee and the Auditor General will ensure that there will be transparent and there will be fair processes and there will be accountability. I would have thought that in the State of the Province address, the Premier would have actually given us a report in terms of what has been found out and what has been done in order to address some of the challenges that the Premier has raised with us last year. Instead, what we have had is more promises and things to be done instead of what has actually been done to make the people's lives a whole lot better. One of the things that we were told, Madam Speaker, is that crime is actually an enemy number 1. Yet, we have spent millions, we have rented helicopters, we have bought German vehicles, we have employed 4,000 wardens in Gauteng. Yet, murder has gone up in Gauteng. Contact crime has gone up in Gauteng. Robberies have gone up in Gauteng. Cash in transits have gone up in Gauteng. What has been the impact of the mapanyazas that have actually then been put in place? We are asking these questions, Madam Speaker, because we would have thought that the Premier, instead of displaying just the warm bodies, would have actually then told us what has been the impact of the people that have been employed. But let me tell you what the impact has been. In police stations that you go to, you'll find Mapanyaza now certifying documents. You'll find them going to buy, no, I can show you videos if you so wish. You can find them now also going to buy lunches for the kennels and for the bosses at police stations. That has been their impact on us. We are saying we don't want people who are PAs to the policemen. We want boots on the ground, people who are going to be visible and who are going to be bringing crime down. I was in Deep Sloot, the people who are terrorized day and night, and yet this government is the first to vilify them when they take the law into their hands. Yet the same Amapanyazas go and can be found at chicken licking during the course of the day, spending the time there, parking that beautiful BMW, sitting in the aircon BMW instead of patrolling in the Deep Sloot area. I can take you, Madam Speaker, to where I have been. I've been to Kagiso. I have been to Angelo. The places that we were told by the Premier that the military has been deployed there. I don't know which military has been deployed there, because none of the, I've seen, and the members of the community are saying they have never seen any of the military people that we are told that have been deployed there. In fact, if you go to the Krugersdorp police station, the police there are saying they will not go out to go and face with the Zamazamas because they don't even have the right ammunition to be able to go out there and do what needs to be done. In fact, if you go and check, the police are saying we don't have equipment, we don't have manpower, we don't have the vehicles. So maybe the Premier can tell us what kind of impact has we had ever since we were told that there is going to be something done with the Zamazamas around that particular area. I can tell you right now, if you go to Angelo, it is business as usual, ma'am. I can tell you right now, if you go to Mohali City, it is business as usual, ma'am. I can tell you that if you go to Randfontein, if you go to Carltonville, it is business as usual. The Zamazamas are continuing to do what they have been doing. You can continue to make all the noise, but this is the real state of where things are in this province. We have heard, Madam Speaker, that we will actually deal with the issues of infrastructure once and for all. And I did say to the Premier, there's no way that you will be able to then address the challenges that is there until and except you deal with the infrastructure master plan. We were told that there is an infrastructure master plan. We did visit that infrastructure master plan that was developed in 2017. And none of the things that are existing in that infrastructure master plan has actually been followed. And we've been asking, Premier, you will not be able to then deal with the issues if you are not able to. The difference is that I write my own speeches, so I can recite my own speeches. If you are talking about reading the speech, maybe you should have read your speech, because what you were saying and what is contained in your speech are two different things. You speak of 10,000 learners that were given licenses, 40,000 licenses. So it means in Gauteng, learners have been given each 4 licenses. That is something that you should have read properly in your speech. You continue to then also say in your speech, you fail to accept that the infrastructure in Gauteng has fallen apart. The provincial infrastructure has fallen apart. The roads in Gauteng, the provincial roads, you speak of R101, you speak of R25, you speak of R24, you speak of R55. Go and see the condition that those roads are in. Go and see how people get robbed at intersection of those roads. This is my speech. I've written it and I can recite it without even reading anything. I want to also say to you that we are sitting with a crisis of water in Gauteng. What would have happened last year is that had we started helping municipalities to deal with the issues of the infrastructure, we would have had a coordinated plan of how to address the issue of water, to address the issue of potholes in our roads, to address the issue of sewer that is actually even polluting our grounds and is polluting our water. We would have dealt with the issue of noise and also of smoke pollution that is continuing to harm the people's health out there. Those are some of the things that Premier Lesufi should have taken into consideration when we said, let's deal with the infrastructure master plan. Because then you will then stop addressing whenever there is toy-toying that is taking place. But you will know that you have a plan that you are following, that you can see where money is spent, and if it has an impact on the people, and whether you are actually addressing the backlog. Right now, we don't even know what the backlog is, because if you look at your 2017 document, and you look at where you have come so far, there isn't much that you have actually been able to then move. And that is something that I think the Premier needs to take note of. The Premier speaks of the formalizing of informal settlements as if it's the best thing after sliced bread. In 2014, in this very same house, I said to the Premier that we will not be able to address the issue of building houses for everybody. At that particular point in time, there was a backlog of 1 million houses that needed to be built. At that time, only 33,000 houses could have been built. And what has happened? We had said to the same Premier who was then leader of government business, that what we needed to do is to make sure that we start formalizing services there and make sure that we give people water, we give them stands, we give them a flushing toilet, we give them electricity and a meter that they will be able to then account for the electricity that they've used. The Premier said, and I quote, "You don't believe in black people owning homes. You are full of apartheid mentality and apartheid thinking. We will build houses for our people." 10 years later, fast forward, here we are. He's announcing what we said he must do 10 years ago now. While the backlog hasn't grown now to 1.3 million and the informal settlements have continued to grow, now we're sitting with 700 of those informal settlements here in Gauteng. That is something, if you had listened, we would have addressed. The Premier speaks about the economy of Gauteng being the biggest. What he fails to also appreciate is that the Gauteng economy is actually now depreciating and is shrinking. The Gauteng economy is continuing now to be certain sectors of it continue to be overtaken by other provinces. The Premier says to us that the Gauteng economy is as big as Limpopo, KZN and the Western Cape combined. He's right, but what is failed to then acknowledge is this. The Western Cape is growing at 31%, while Gauteng is growing at 30%. That is in terms of the finance sector economy. Trade has now declined in Gauteng to below 11%, whereas in the Western Cape has grown by 13%. Transport economy has grown in the Western Cape by 9%. In Gauteng, it has gone down to 6%. The manufacturing has decreased in Gauteng by 17%. In the Western Cape, it has gone down by 18%. Personal services has grown by 12% in the Western Cape, and also in Gauteng it has come down by 11%.
Honourable members.
What we now need to be answering,
Honourable
Madam Speaker.
Mfikwe, please. Honourable Mfikwe, please. Honourable Khumalo, please. Continue, Honourable Msimang.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We will continue to highlight some of these things. And I was hoping that at least we will be able to listen so that we can engage constructively to what has been said, instead of howling and making noise, because that is not going to help the people of Gauteng. We were further told, Madam Speaker, that the economy of Gauteng will continue to grow, yet we have seen that in terms of unemployment, Gauteng holds one of the highest level of unemployed people in South Africa. So where is this growing economy that we have been told about if it's not able to then absorb the people? The people continue to be absorbed somewhere else, and the people, even the politicians who are at a national level, have seen where the light is, have continued now to buy properties where the light is. They are moving where the light is because they've realized that in this municipality where the streets are exploding, in these municipalities where buildings are burning day and night, they cannot continue to then invest in. This is what the real state of the province is. Madam Speaker, we are told that there will be a rail that will be moving from Limpopo. That's what we were told last year. There will be a Limpopo train that will move with speed from Limpopo to Gauteng. This was abandoned this year. We are told now of a train that will move from Joburg now to Durban. So we don't know which train we are now going to be, or to East London. So which train now are we supposed to be following the project of? Is it the one from Limpopo? Is it the one now to Tebeka? Which one is it? Where are the plans? How much has been invested? How much are we putting down? When is this going to be starting? That is something that we need to be talking to. But here's a challenge. We are being told of a train, yet we have rail that is being destroyed on an everyday basis here in Gauteng. In Gauteng, we have infrastructure that is being destroyed on a daily basis. Premier, I said this to you last year, that perhaps what you needed to do is to make sure that we ask for the devolution of power from a national to a provincial level, so that you can take some of this infrastructure. Why? So that you are able to then start investing in ensuring that we have provincial rail, to make sure that we're able to then have, rail, a public transport system that the province can then have control over. At this point in time, you don't have control over that, which now claiming that it is coming. So I don't know how you are going to make sure that that happens going forward. You speak also, Premier, about ensuring that we will ease the processes of doing business. Yet, you go to Pennyville, the people continue to tell us that it is very difficult to do business with government. I met with a lady who's making couches. I met with a gentleman who is actually designing and making steel beds for prisons. And he says his biggest clients is Angola government, is Tanzania government, whereas in this government here, we buy all these things from China. And yet we are surprised when the economy is not growing as it's supposed to be growing. Yet we are surprised that the township economy that you're talking about is actually not growing, is not taking shape. Last year he told us that the spaza shop will receive free Wi-Fi, that they will receive branding. So far we haven't even been given report of how many of those have actually received those. Where are those that have received the so-called branding and the Wi-Fi that you spoke about? Is that what you mean by economic empowerment? You spoke about ensuring that those that will be owning spaza shops or businesses need to be compliant. In here you talk about 20,000 of those. Where? Please tell us where, so that we are able to then say, this is what you have done as a government, and we can then follow up on that. But so far, all we have had is numbers that have been thrown around with very little meaning to them. You've told us about Ford being the biggest investor. What you didn't tell is that whatever Ford has done has got nothing to do with you as the Premier, or your term of you being in office. Because even before, Ford has made this announcement 4 years ago of what they intended doing. So it has got nothing to do with you. And stop ever trying to claim things that you know nothing about or have nothing to do with. As Cabral has said, stop claiming easy victories. What we also now need to then say is that companies like BMW are also now considering moving away from South Africa. Why? Because our infrastructure seems to be falling apart. We are not having a plan in terms of how to ensure that we're able to move their products out of here into the markets out there in the world. And you are coming here to tell us of the investments that have been put together even before your time, which are now being reconsidered given the climate and given the infrastructure environment that we find ourselves in. You're speaking about the embassies being in Tshwane as if you have invited them or they are coming because of you. They've been there since the 80s, since the 70s, because that's how government has been designed even before that. They've always been here. They'll continue to be here. What you should have acknowledged is that we should then be enhancing the tourism around government. We should be enhancing that when they do come here, we're able to then grow the economy. You talk about then how we ensure that all the different regions, the economic zones will actually then begin to be enhanced. What you fail to acknowledge is that in Ekurhuleni, where you spoke about the Aerotropolis, we have failed. There's nothing that has happened there. You speak about what De Beers has done. De Beers has done that on a private basis. It's got nothing to do with government. What we should have done is to make sure that we invest in ensuring that we get the airport and the businesses around the airport going. Right now, SAA, I know this is not the competence of a provincial government, but SAA has now been deflated. we are now operating with 9 planes and only going to about 17 destinations in the world. What should have actually happened is that if we are serious about growing the aerotropolis, what we should have done is to make sure that we fix. No, it's fine. They can make noise all they want. What we should have done is that we fix the OR Tambo to make sure that everybody that wants to come into the region or into the African continent comes here, spend money here before then connecting to regional flights. This is something that happens when you fly to Dubai. The Emirates are very, very much deliberate in ensuring that they fly you there and then they get you to spend money there. That's how they get the economy going. Right now, we're speaking of the aerotropolis. Tell me what you have done around the airport itself that seeks to then attract people that are coming and joining to go to regional flights. There's absolutely nothing that has been done. We are told about building the rails there, and we know the kind of scandals that is around that entity that is there, that is supposed to be building locomotives in that particular space. But these are things that the Premier will not own up or tell us about. The Premier continues to then tell us about the panic buttons. Last year he said, in a matter of weeks, we will ensure that we roll out the panic buttons. This year we are told the panic buttons will only be on the cell phone, and also we are now going on the testing phase of it. What has really happened in the last year? Have we just been sitting to make that same announcement again a year later? Have we just been sitting to make sure that, we get people excited? But here's the thing. The 10,111 number continues not to work in certain police stations. So even if you press that panic button, who does it go to? If you are sitting in a police station that doesn't have electricity, in a police station that doesn't have landlines in there, who gets to then respond? In a police station that only has 2 vehicles and those same vehicles are out of commission, who will then respond when anybody presses that panic button and indeed the police cannot do what needs to be done? That is something that, Madam Speaker, the Premier has failed to acknowledge. The Premier has failed to acknowledge that there is a 43% vacancy in the South African Police Service. And of that, Madam Speaker, we haven't been dealing with ensuring that we fill those vacancies. He gives a reason why Ntate Mawela has left the police, but like Ntate Mawela and so many others, they are saying they are leaving the police because of the political influence that is there. They are not being allowed to do their job. They are not being allowed to do their job. There's always interference that is coming from politicians who want to then tell them what to do, where to do, and when to do it. They speak of Begitele, who comes here and talks about the race that he wants to do, and tell other police stations to remove those vehicles from the police stations to come to where he is, and then that police stations and the areas remain vulnerable. That is what is happening in the police in South Africa. That is what is happening in Gauteng with the police. The police are saying, we haven't been to our competency shooting because we are told that there is no ammunition. There hasn't been ammunition that has been bought. And you wonder why the criminals are so brazen. The criminals can pull AK-47s, they can pull out R5s when are confronted with the police, because they know the police will only come with 9mm guns. And if they are lucky, they will be able to then use those guns. What have we done to make sure that 70% of our police that now can be found to be incompetent, how do we then ensure that they are competent? We are told that hostels are being dealt with, Madam Speaker. I visited quite a number of hostels. One of the hostels that I visited was the Madala hostel. And it was quite sad to see what was happening there. That we are told that this provincial government has spent 17 million in the previous year, and in the previous 2 years has spent 32 million in there. But if you go and see what Madala hostel looks like, if you look at Helen Joseph and what that hostel looked like, and you wonder, where has that money been spent? Because clearly that money was never spent there. Clearly those people didn't benefit anything out of it. We still have leaking roofs. We still have kitchens that don't have, the gas connections. We still have rooms that, don't have windows. We still have sewer that is running right in the passages of the same hostels. What has actually been done? We are told that there will be in the internet connection. How do you give somebody an internet connection if you haven't really fixed a sewer so that they don't have a sewer line that is running through there? How do you give somebody the internet if they don't even have clean water coming out of the taps? They have to then go outside to then get water there.
Sorry, Honorable Simang. Colleagues, I'm sure you will appreciate that we are debating SOPA. We don't want to hear private conversations, please. Can we refrain from that? Honorable Maile.
It's quite interesting.
Honorable Maile.
It's quite interesting to hear the leader of government business making fun of the suffering of the people. But don't worry, we will make sure that the people know what you think of them when we go out of here. We'll make sure that when we go and campaign, people know that you don't care that they live next to sewer lines. People will know that you don't care that there's no security where they're living in. People will know that you don't care about their plight. People will definitely know that. We want to then say, the Premier continues to tell us about Pick It Up. The Premier says that Pick It Up will be then used throughout the province. Again, there's excitement that is now being used without following the proper processes or ensuring that what he wants to then do is actually very much legal. Who has he consulted with to then say, in these areas we are going to then deal with bringing Pick It Up? Go and walk the streets of Johannesburg, see how Joburg is filthy, and tell me how Pick It Up will be able to then deal with the whole province if they cannot deal with one municipality. Tell me how they will be able to then deal, or City Power will be able to then ensure that the whole of Gauteng has electricity, while on their own they are not able to then deal with the challenges that Johannesburg is sitting with. We are now told, Madam Speaker, that we will ensure that City Power will continue, and this provincial government will continue to fix and install transformers. But the Premier didn't read his own speech, because his speech spoke about ensuring that we build a culture of accountability where there will be metering, people will be paying for those services that they consume. In fact, he turns his own speech and then says that he wants to then pick up a fight with Eskom. You will be apologizing again very, very soon, because again, you are now jumping the gun. Eskom has said, we have consulted the people of PV. We have gone there to have meetings. We have been stopped from installing those meters. That's what the spokesperson from Eskom is saying. The Premier, because he gets excited, he wants to then encourage a lawless society. He wants to encourage a culture of non-payment where people are not paying but continue to then, to consume. And then you wonder why we are sitting with a problem in Gauteng where municipalities are falling apart. Municipalities are falling apart because they are not able to then financially sustain themselves. Why? Because electricity is not being paid for. Why? Because water is not being paid for. And then you are now encouraging people to continue to do things and not pay for them. And when those that are in authority want to take the right steps, you want to be popular, you jump in and say that, people must not be switched off. People must, be engaged. While the engagements have taken place, and Eskom has continuously said that we have been trying to engage and install prepaid meters so that we can then ensure that people can then know how much they are consuming and be able to then manage their own consumption. But this is something that you were not willing to address and not willing to talk to, because all you wanted to do was to then again use the State of the Province address for your rally as the ANC to try and garner the support that you know that you have definitely lost going into this coming elections. You speak about, and I don't know how you get to then take credit for this and say within a couple of days you were able to then deal with the arsonist who has burned down the building in Johannesburg. While the person came out of their own free will. It had nothing to do with Amapanyaza. It had nothing to do with you. They came on their own and said, this is what we have done. And the process is now unfolding on its own. What you should be telling us is what has Zamapanyaza or you as government done in addressing the issue of the Lisbon building. We're still waiting years later to hear what has happened around the Lisbon building, but we're not going to be hearing that from you. Stop with the populist rhetoric and deal with the challenges that the people are saying, are there. I want to also say, the Premier said to us that they are going to buy back 18 hospitals. I didn't know that we first of all sold hospitals to anybody for us to then be buying them back. So why are we buying something that, why are we buying back something that we never sold in the first instance? That's the first thing. The Premier continues to then say, we will be buying 18 of these, but never gives, never gives any detail to that. Premier, what you should have been telling us and what should tell us is which hospitals are those, because there's 114 or 115 private hospitals in Gauteng. Of those, we will need to know which ones are you buying back, if we are buying back, and when did we sell them, at what cost. Because as it is, you are failing to maintain Kalafong Hospital. You are failing to maintain Pretoria West Hospital. You are failing to maintain Tembisa Hospital. You are failing to maintain all these hospitals because some of them are actually then being declared as inhabitable. They are declared as, hospitals that are dangerous to a society. You have Johan Hayes that was donated to government. Please go and visit Johan Hayes in the Vaal and see the condition that it's in. It is now been reduced from a hospital to a clinic, and from a clinic it's now been closed down. So I don't even know if you have an understanding of what the National Health Insurance seeks to do. Because it doesn't say that you must buy the private clinics. It says that you must have a relationship with the private sector that will ensure that there are services that can cross-pollinate from each other. You have now taken this literally and say maybe you must take over. And I don't know how this is going to happen while you are now going out of office in a couple of months' time. So that is not going to happen. We will fix this. But I can tell you now that the National Health Insurance is not something that will be coming in the next while. You have a line of people that are going to be taking this thing on. You have the medical profession. You have other entities or civil society that is actually going to be taking this matter on. So you can dream of this being implemented, but this will never be implemented anytime soon. And this is what the people of Gauteng need to know and need to hear.
Honorable Mfikwe, Honorable Mfikwe, Honorable Mfikwe, can you go to your seat, please? Continue, Honorable.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. We were told again, Madam Speaker, that the e-tolls will be a thing of the past, as we were told in 2016, as we were told in 2019, as we were told in 2021, as we were told again last year. But what the Premier is failing to tell us is that there's a 12.9 billion rand debt that we will have to take, which means that that money has to then, because there's no new money that is going to be coming in. It means that that money will have to have certain projects being stopped from government. It means that some of the projects that should have been benefiting the people of this province will now need to then be rechanneled so that we are able to pay what the people of Gauteng has said from the get-go that they didn't want. And this arrogant government continued to implement the system that the people of Gauteng said that they didn't want. Madam Speaker, I want to close by quoting one Mandisi Janki, who says in his song Ziyafana, uthi ndambuza uNkululeko ngenkokheli zethu ndathi intoni le izenza zingakhathali kangaka, ndathi intoni le izenza singasixabisi kangaka. Wathi ukundiphendula, wathi ziyafana zonke amasela, ziyafana zonke amamenemene, ziyafana zonke amabhedengu. Kodwa ngenye imini bazobumbana abantu, bazosukuma, bazobambana, and bazathatha lamandla kubo, bazoyenza lokho kumele ukuthi bakwenze. Your time is limited. You have lied to the people of Gauteng for 30 years. You have stolen from the people of Gauteng for 30 years. You have ensured that the people's lives are worse off than in certain instances like they were before you took over. You should be ashamed of yourself, but then again, we will fix South Africa, we will fix Gauteng when we do take over. Thank you very much, Speaker.
Yes.
Honorable Makubela.
No, thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I must state that today is World Thinking Day. and what we were subjected to is pure common sense. And I will demonstrate it. The Democratic Alliance and its partners, Action SA and others, have been in charge of the city of Tshwane for close to a decade. They've given us 5 mayors. The first one being the latter speaker who just spoke now. All they did, Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker. No, Madam Speaker, can I be allowed to speak?
Honorable members, including honorable members from the ANC, please, can we have order? Please. And if you continue doing so, I will have no option but to chase you away from the house. Colleagues. Honorable colleagues, I have been warning you, and I just said, even members of the ANC, I just said it now, unless you didn't hear what I said. Honorable Chief Whip, can you continue?
Thank you very much. Madam Speaker, the DA and its partners, Action SA, gave us 5 mayors. None of those mayors 10 years later have cut any ribbon. Any ribbon. They've not opened any facility. They've not started any project. You cut the ribbon of a cemetery which was built by the African National Congress. That's what you did. You've never cut a single ribbon. You've given us 12 billion corruption scandal, led Africa. You've given us 20 billion that could not be accounted for. You've given us cholera. You have killed people and given us cholera in Hammanskraal. You did not tell your white colleagues that through pillow talk, you changed contracts of HODs and made them permanent because you were married to some of those HODs in Tshwane. And that's why they are not performing. That's where we are. Because of pillow talk, you have reduced a once thriving city into a city of a den of thieves. Tshwane, Madam Speaker, has become...
Order, Speaker. Order, Speaker.
Members.
Order, Speaker.
Honorable Makwala. Honorable Msimang. I've recognized Honorable Makwala. I've recognized Honorable Maile. Honorable Maile. Honorable Msimang. Honorable Msimang, Honorable Maile. Honorable Maile, Honorable Msimang, we're not here to listen to both of you, please. There's what is called noise pollution. Please. Can you, Maslela, Honorable Maslela, can you lower your hand? I've recognized Honorable Makwala.
Okay. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I'm rising on point order or Rule 93. We're requesting that the House adjourn and the Chief Whip caucuses. The personal attacks that Honorable Makwela is doing to Honorable Msimang are uncalled for. And we as members, the ANC can howl the way they want to do so. They are free to do that. We as honorable members of this House are not going to be reduced to these personal attacks. We can howl more than the ANC.
Honorable Nkosi Manibane and Honorable Ditlabela, can you please help us to listen? You are not going to tell me what to do because Honorable Makwala must be heard and we need to respond. So if I can't hear him, how am I going to respond to what he's saying? Honorable Makwala, it's your turn now to speak, and I will request honorable members, please allow me to hear what people are saying.
Honorable Speaker, we are requesting that you allow Honorable Makwela to withdraw what he has just said to Honorable Msima.
Honorable members, I read the rules to say when a member speaks, one, we don't disrupt. It doesn't mean that at the end I will not be able to make a ruling on that particular matter. Can you bear with me, please? Can you bear with me?
Thank you very much.
Honorable Mukwebo, please.
Madam Speaker, let me repeat
Makwala,
this point.
I'm not going to adjourn the House, but I will request that let us use the proper language in the House. Remember, any member has a right to say what they want to say, but if that issue is unparliamentary, I will rule on that particular matter.
Madam
Please.
Speaker, let me
Honorable
repeat.
Speaker,
No, you don't have to.
you have
We
not
don't have
ruled.
to.
Is it parliamentary that Honorable Makwela says Honorable Msimang has killed people in River?
Honorable, can you sit down, please?
Please rule. Please rule and
How
stop.
do I read when you speak? You're not
Please
sitting.
rule and stop smiling with the ANC. Rule on these serious matters and stop smiling with the ANC.
Honorable Makwala, who has allowed you to speak? I did not allow you to speak.
Yeah, please rule on the point that we are raising. Honorable Makwela must be made to apologize the same way Honorable
You
Makwela
made
has
your point.
apologized.
Can you sit down?
Are you afraid of Honorable Makwela? Allow Makwela to withdraw and we proceed. You have forced Honorable Makwela to withdraw.
You must apologize.
Honorable Makwela has just apologized here. Who is Honorable Makwela not to apologize?
Honorable members, Honorable Makwala, I just made a ruling now to say, but you're not going to tell me at what stage I need to rule. I've made a ruling. Honorable Makwala, can you sit down? Honorable Makwala, I have not allowed you to speak. Can you sit down? Honorable Makwala, can you sit down, please? Honorable Makwala. Can you sit down? Thank you. Thank you, sit down. Honorable members, I'm sure when I read the rules, one of the things that we normally do, we train all members on the rules. And when we come to sittings, I explain rules that are applicable on a particular day. And I'm sure members, when you come here, you just hear the words, but you don't actually understand what is meant by the rules. Don't say ha.
There are no selective rules in this House.
Honorable members, you must be allowed to speak first. Now, Honorable Makubela, can you stand up? And you're going to continue with your speech.
Let me continue.
I have not recognized
Thank you
anyone
very
except
much.
you.
Because of the, let me repeat what I said. Because of the inept and corrupt DA government, which has killed our people in Hammanskraal, which then further continued to encourage an environment of impunity, when through pillow talk, they overnight changed contracts of HODs and made them permanent. We are speaking about 5 mayors that they have changed in the past 10 years, who have nothing to show. But Madam Speaker, let me take you on a personal journey. I believe that the state, I believe that the state of the province address by Premier Panyaza Lesufi was a detailed account of achievement, fulfillment of covenant made and dreams realized. But Madam Speaker, no, I don't have a problem with what he's saying, but he must. Comrades, is that it? No. Comrades, let's behave.
Honorable.
I know that was going to strike a chord. I know it.
Honorable Makubela, whoa.
I'm a responsible father of 2 kids.
Honorable Makubela.
Very responsible.
Honorable Makubela, can you wait? Honorable members, whips of parties, can you help me with the conduct of your members?
Please.
Honorable members, but you don't have to shout. Honorable Msibang. Honorable members, I read the rules for you to understand. Let's debate the state of the province address. Honorable members, please.
But, Honorable Speaker, why is Soli still in the House?
But also, I still have to rule. Why don't you allow me to? No, but where do I rule? Where do I rule?
Madam Speaker, can we continue? Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. The state of the province addressed by Premier Panyaza Lesufi was a detailed account of performance, achievement, fulfillment of promises, and dreams realized. It was a living testimony of an instrument of the ANC in the hands of the people of Gauteng. He understood very well what Karl Marx said many years ago when he said, men make their own history, but they do not make it out of self-selected circumstances, but under circumstances existing already, given and transmitted from the past. The Premier, Comrade Panyaza Lesufi, reminded us during the SOPA delivery of the words of Kahil Gibran, who said, "No sunrise will find us where sunset left us. Days are never counted backwards." In the same vein, Madam Speaker, Paulo Freire, in his seminal work, The Pedagogy of the Oppressed, says that for the oppressors, human beings refers only to themselves. Other people are things. things you can set dogs on. For the oppressors, there exists only one right, their right to live in peace over against the right of the oppressors to survive. The songstress, Thandizwa Mazwai, in her song Zabalaza, warns us that the world changes, revolutionaries die, and the children forget. Nizilibele kuba nizalwa ngobani. Madam Speaker, myself and millions of other Tentwalos have not forgotten where we come from. We have not forgotten who gave birth to us. We have not forgotten that we were born into the chains of oppression, and we have not forgotten the kind of South Africa we were born into. Allow me, Madam Speaker, to share my personal experience. I am Tentwalu. I am democracy's child. I was born, Madam Speaker, I was born in Attridgeville in 1986, what many call Pelindaba. And because of my Tsonga ethnicity and because of Group Areas Act, our family were condemned to the darkest outskirts of the township in close proximity to hostels and a stone throw away from a nuclear power plant. We lived in a house that was supposed to kill all of us, which was roofed with asbestos. Many people, including my father, died of cancer. Tomorrow, I will be burying my aunt of the very same colon cancer. Madam Speaker, I'm a Tentwalo of Selbonside, a product of Tama Hansi, the birthplace of our Deputy President, Comrade Paul Mashatile. The Attridgeville I was born into only had 6 main roads tarred. It was Makaza Street, Maunde Street, Ramokopa Street, Morwe Street, and Masopa Street. Only 3 streets were tarred. Today, the Attridgeville that I woke up in, every square mile of the township has been tarred. Outside Attridgeville been tarred, Madam Speaker. It had no road signs, it had no road markings, it had no stormwater drainage system, and worst of all, the Attridgeville I was born into had no street lights. We were condemned to unimaginable hell by the brutal apartheid system that saw us as things. Today, since 1994, Madam Speaker, I started school in 1992, 2 years before democracy.
Honorable Makubela, the time is up. Honorable Makane.
Continue.
No, Madam Speaker. No, I'm
Continue, Honorable Makane.
I'm protesting, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Makane, they are eating your time. They are eating your time. They are deliberately eating your time. Continue.
Speaker. Switch off. Thank you. Speaker, we rise today with heavy hearts to debate the second state of the province address after intolerant members of the ANC caused serious disruptions in the chambers. We want to acknowledge the fact that the ANC is still in denial that it is losing power in this province. The sooner it makes peace with it, the better. The ANC was able to bust in hundreds of hooligans who were ready to kill elected members at Nasrec on Monday. The ANC, including you, Speaker, failed to condemn them. We have in the past raised issues of cost containment and our concern regarding unnecessary costs related to holding SOPA outside the legislature present. We failed to see the rationale behind this wasteful expenditure when the legislature has the facilities to host such an event. At least on Monday, we saw why you chose Nasrec, because you wanted to accommodate your green quasi-military troops as well as gun-toting hooligans to instill fear in the chambers. On Monday, 19 February, the Premier missed a golden opportunity to restore the confidence of Gauteng residents in this failing government of the ANC. He failed to tell the residents of Gauteng that in 1995, after taking political power, the unemployment rate in Gauteng stood at 8%, and it is now escalated to 33.8% under the ANC-led government. In terms of the expanded definition, unemployment rate is now stands at 38.4%. This means over 2.6 million people are unemployed and not participating in any economic activity in this province. He could not tell Gauteng residents that this ANC-led government has failed to create millions of sustainable jobs for the past 30 years since they have been in power. That is a fact. They only created few black millionaires through the corrupt BEE policy that excluded the rest of the population from participating in the mainstream economy. Speaker, the Premier can climb on top of Mount Kilimanjaro and put a straight face to deny that this Nasi Spani is not an ANC electioneering mechanism. He continues to humiliate young people by calling them to stadiums for handover ceremonies. He is bribing these young people into voting for the ANC in the upcoming elections. If these were genuine jobs, candidates would be called in for proper assessment and screening processes to ascertain their suitability for specific jobs. But out of desperation, no, I don't think I know. But out of desperation for votes, he organizes political rallies to issue employment letters. We warned you last year about Lesufism. The Premier missed an excellent opportunity to tell the people of Gauteng that the jobs he is dishing out through Nasi Spani are temporary jobs, which will come to an end when the contract expires. He conveniently forgot to inform the Amapanya that they cannot undergo the rigorous process of vetting to check their previous convictions and cannot undergo the relevant firearm training because theirs is just temporary employment for purposes of securing their votes this year. Lesufism is preying on innocent, vulnerable, and unsuspecting young people. He failed to inform them that they must not make any long-term financial commitments because these jobs are temporary. What they will be paid is a stipend, not a salary. The very same Amapanya, they have on numerous occasions accused of criminality. They have been accused of heavy-handedness because we do not know their risk profiles in our communities. They have been accused of assaulting members of the communities, including police officers. Beki Cele refused to recognize them. Now they are going to be turned into a quasi-military troop through their training with Sandav. It is contradictory that they are being trained by people who are not even equipped with deal with crime prevention. The people of Gauteng want more police officers in the streets instead of Amapanya. They want people who are trained to deal more effectively with crime. The resources wasted on wardens could have been better used to empower the SAPS in the province. But because the Premier and his ANC are so desperate for votes, they have decided to squander public resources. Speaker, it is a fact that the young people of Gauteng have not seen their material conditions change for the past 30 years. The bribery that is currently being dispensed in the name of stipend are in no way near to changing the material living conditions of these young people. The Premier has forgotten to report on the 400 new police cars for each ward of the province that would have started patrolling from the 1st of May 2023. It was really convenient of him to forget such an important promise he made last year. The Premier has forgotten to inform the people of Gauteng that his ANC government has failed to create an environment conducive for the creation of industrial development that will lead to millions of sustainable jobs, not the 40,000 he promised on Monday. The 90,000 young people of Gauteng who the Premier referred to at SOPA should not be fooled into believing that Nasi Spani will result in permanent and sustainable employment. Some of these contracts will end in May. This administration does not have capacity to fight unemployment. They failed since 1994 and nothing will change that. We have on various platforms provided them with a solution to end unemployment by adopting a state-led industrialization that will create millions of sustainable jobs. They refused. All ANC-led administration of this province have left industrialization in the hands of private sectors whose only motive is to profit maximization. On Monday, he once again placed industrialization in the hands of private sector like Ford, BMW, and Mercedes-Benz. This is a clear indication of whose interest the ANC-led government is serving, but clearly it is not the unemployed people of Gauteng. The very same companies cannot transfer skills to the people regarding all these stages that went into producing the products. They bring finished products to be just assembled in Gauteng, then benefit from the incentives associated with special economic zones. His economic plans relied heavily on the...
Time up. Time up.
No, it's fine.
Honorable Robinson.
Madam Speaker, there can be no doubt that the most dangerous place in Gauteng is between the Premier and a media camera. The Premier is quite a showman, and nowhere was this more on display than at the 2024 state-sponsored ANC rally we had on Monday. To thunderous applause, we were told that banks, financial institutions, pharmaceutical companies, and telecommunications companies will now be found in Gauteng because of the government that the Premier has the honour to lead. The ANC often tells us they tell no lies and claim no victories. However, it is remarkable that the ANC benches applauded such an easy victory of the pre-existing role that Gauteng has played in South Africa. The fact that Gauteng remains the financial and telecommunications hub of South Africa is despite this administration, not because of it. Where we do find common cause with the Premier is that we too want to grow the economy and create jobs, particularly for young people. However, it is regrettable that the Premier again claimed a false victory when he said that our economy is now back on track. This is simply not true. The national growth forecast for 2024 is 0.6%, and Gauteng is barely above this. It is also not in the realm of possibility that government can employ every person looking for work. No government in the world, not even the ANC's friends in Russia and China, do you find that the state is a major employer. Creating jobs requires a strong role for the state to invest in enablers, good infrastructure, stable energy, potable water, all services buckling in Gauteng. The fiscal position of the province is such that it cannot give millions of jobs to people. The public wage bill of the province is standing at 58% of revenue. Far more jobs can be created if the province decided to act as an enabler of growth for the many rather than the employer for the few. Our equitable share was only raised by 6.2 billion rand in the current budget, while the bulk of this will be eaten away by the ever-expanding and enormous wage bill. Our own revenue is also not helping the provincial government, as the downward adjustments and undercollection by community safety, infrastructure and COCTA suggest. Madam Speaker, the Honourable Premier has sold a dream to the people of Gauteng, and that dream costs money. Just a few examples: 12.9 billion for the e-toll commitments, 546 million paying off student debts, 3 billion in Wi-Fi connectivity, 3 billion for Sun City on the Vaal. Add to this 93 billion rand and expanding wage bill. Very soon we will be reliant on funding core services with debt. Debt is only viable in a growing economy, and when the return on investment outstrips the rate at which the debt must be repaid. In an attempt to disguise the failures of local governments in the province, the Premier announced that the province will fix no less than 120 municipal roads. This while the provincial roads are in no better condition. Just think of the Rondeboult Road, which has been hanging over a sinkhole for a year, and this administration has been silent about it. Then we will have Pick It Up collecting dustbins across the province. I would like to know, since the Premier announced this already, what competitive bidding process was followed and what section of the PFMA are we relying on? Madam Speaker, I am less than optimistic about the pronouncement made by the Premier, especially since he will not have the opportunity to see any of his promises through. When the DA takes over on the 29th of May, I can assure you that we will be cutting fat and growing the economy. When Solim Simanga is our Premier, we will put our law enforcement on the street, not in CSCs certifying documents. Madam Speaker, after 30 years of power, it is shameful that this government has to invite the only accomplishment they've got to SOPA instead of showing us on the streets what they have done. Time for change, Madam Speaker. Only the DA can rescue South Africa. Thank you.
Honourable Alberts. Press once, Honourable Alberts, and leave.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Premier Sufi, honourable members. Premier, we have duly taken note of your list of achievements brought about by the ANC in the last 30 years. However, if one would cease viewing these ANC projects individually and zoom out to evaluate them in a holistic manner and measure how they cohere within the larger Gauteng environment, then a different picture emerges. If one takes this view, the inevitable result is that the Chinese proverb that a journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step is turned on its head, simply because when the ANC does take the first step, they also take many backwards. I will explain. While Gauteng now possesses a Gautrain and bus rapid transit system, the government transport system in itself in the province has actually regressed due to a dysfunctional PRASA and a highway system that was paid off 30 years ago and that was magically made a toll road by the stroke of a pen. The reality is that most poor commuters are still reliant on privately owned taxis for transport. The reality is that e-tolls are still with us, and we will have to see whether the ANC will refund any toll fees paid. While the Mandela Bridge and Soccer City are visible landmarks, the endless dangerous dirt roads in townships and potholed roads everywhere are a towering testimony to the regression of infrastructure in Gauteng, not even to mention the failure to build enough schools against the backdrop of a growing population. While drones, surveillance cameras, panic buttons and crime prevention wardens are rolled out to fight crime, the reality is that crime has reached its highest peak in the history of the province. It is now systemic and part of normal life in Gauteng, especially within the Gauteng government itself, run by the ANC. And all the gimmicks in the world will not drive it down. More so, it's problematic, even more so, that the legality of the prevention wardens is uncertain. The reality, Premier, is but that we do not need a police state. We need an economically prosperous province where dignified employment will address many social ills. Lastly, while many RDP houses were built for the poor, the reality is that the ANC government on national and provincial levels are bankrupt due to 30 years of financial mismanagement, corruption, state capture by tenderpreneurs, and the systemic destruction of the economy by irrational policy interventions. And so it has come to pass that no more RDP houses will actually be built. Instead, the poor must now find employment to fund the building of their own houses within an environment where almost 50% of people can't find work in this province and in the country. It is to be noted that this is the highest unemployment rate in the history of the country since the forming of the Union in 1910. Holistically viewed, the ANC in government has progressed one step forward and 1,000 steps backward. In essence, what the ANC has achieved in the last 30 years are the following. Firstly, the ANC has managed to invert a very old Chinese saying and proverb, and in practice have turned it upside down. That takes some doing. Secondly, the Premier has, on behalf of the ANC, basically repackaged old failed promises in a new wrapper that is designed to bamboozle the electorate into voting for a party that has in reality regressed the province over the last 30 years. If the Gauteng, answer this, if the Gauteng ANC government truly were spectacularly successful in improving the lives of the people of Gauteng, then tell us why would it be necessary now to employ thousands of people in unsustainable jobs in government, roll out gimmicky anti-crime programs, build solar farms, stop the e-tolls suddenly now, develop townships, and make many more promises. If the last 30 years were so good, why would you be doing that now? Answer me that. No, the ANC has made one step forward and 1,000 steps backward. So, in final, we will witness the formation of a new multi-party government in Gauteng this year that will know how to put one foot before the other and progress forwards towards the achievement of a safe, prosperous, family-oriented province, a new powerhouse for the country and for the continent. Here is to 1,000 steps forward for real. Thank you.
Honorable Hassan.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. All protocol observed, and of course to our invited guests and the people of Gauteng. Madam Speaker, before we can begin this debate, we must be reminded of the 29,313 Palestinians, the majority of whom are women and children, who, as I speak here, are being brutally massacred by the apartheid Israeli regime. We are witnessing a calculated genocide while the Western world actively protects the oppressor and provides impunity. Madam Speaker, millions have been displaced. Thousands are being detained without trial. The people of Gaza are literally being starved out by apartheid Israel. Humanitarian and other aid organizations have never, let me repeat, have never seen anything quite so horrific. Patients, including babies, are being operated on with no anesthetic while under drone attack. There is no justification for the systematic horror we are witnessing. Honourable members, this is the worst humanitarian crisis of the 21st century, and history will judge those who stood on the side of apartheid Israel very harshly, just as they did those who supported apartheid South Africa. Yes, I am subtweeting the DA, birds of a feather, I guess. We call for an immediate ceasefire and an end to the illegal occupation and genocide, as well as the free movement for aid for Palestinians before it is too late. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Madam Speaker, today I have the honour of debating SOPA 2024 from an ANC-led government. It marks the closure of the sixth administration, and while we have encountered some challenges, we have a myriad of success stories to tell with objective metrics to illustrate our progress. I'll be focusing on education and youth development today. And the reality is that Gauteng is still the best place in this country for a young person to gain opportunity, both in terms of skills and economic opportunity. Honourable members, we have before us a Premier who served for almost 10 years as an education MEC, a Premier and an executive whose passion is the liberation of young people in this country, and it does not go unnoticed by youth constituencies. The class of 2023 achieved a pass rate of 85.4, and this is an improvement from the year before. And our very own Johannesburg West District retained the #1 spot nationally for another year in a row. We have achieved the highest matric pass rate there of 92.5%. I know what everyone's thinking. What about the quality of this education? What is the requisite levels there? Gauteng has achieved over 41,400 distinctions, and we've contributed almost 20% of all distinctions nationally. Gauteng has continued to perform well above the national target of 60% for math, science and life sciences as well, physics science as well, and these are all indications of progress. In terms of bachelor passes, we have achieved the highest number of bachelor passes since 1996 and the second highest number in the country with over 56,500 learners. And this is an improvement on the actual number. In fact, over 84% of our learners who passed the NSC exam actually graduated with a bachelor pass or diploma pass as well. That's not 30%. I'll educate you in the math, not to worry. The number of schools, Madam Speaker, including township schools, that have achieved 95% and more have improved. 297 of those schools achieved that rate, and last year 143 schools achieved 100%. All 15 of our districts performed higher than the national average at 82.9%. And we are pleased that the top 4 districts featured within the national top 10 districts in the country. Special mention must be made to Raymond and Clava High School, who has consistently performed as a top-performing township school. They achieved a 100% pass rate and an 85% bachelor's pass. And while there are schools in any system that have room for improvement, we welcome the intervention from GDE as well. Madam Speaker, the ANC-led government has been unapologetic of our pro-poor policies across provincial government. We've made significant strides in closing the gap between township and non-township schools. In 2009, township schools achieved an average pass rate of 60.1%, with non-township schools achieving 84.2%. That gap was 24.1%. However, in 2023, the gap dramatically declined to a mere 9.7% difference. The school nutrition program remains one of our most vital and outstanding pro-poor policy interventions. More than 1.65 million learners across all schooling levels have benefited from this. The no-fee school policy has serviced over 1,400 schools, and we have seen over 1.7 million learners enrolled. The learner transport program has benefited more than 206,000 learners to ensure safety and security. And I know it's very difficult because these are hard facts, these are hard numbers, these are young people who've benefited. In terms of ECD, we are number 2 in the country in that regard. In terms of schools of specialization, we will now, at the end of this administration, open all 35 schools of specialization with 20,000 learners registered, with over an 85.8% matric pass rate. We have 1.5 billion that's been sought by provincial government for the construction of 18 new and replacement schools. In terms of funding, we have over 18,000 bursaries that we've awarded since 2019. We have 560 million rand for bursaries in the war chest. Premier Lesufi and the ANC-led government, we as young people thank you. Education is not a privilege, it is a right, and young people must be centered. In terms of youth development, we have over 10,000 learners who are in career guidance and information. A total of 3,205 youth have been placed in apprenticeship and learnership programs. 761 solar technicians are in training. 2,800 ECD practitioners. The provisioning of bursaries to 4,000 people in this year alone of 2024. These are hard facts, Madam Speaker, that nobody seems to be able to dispute. Madam Speaker, through these interventions, the ANC-led government has created close to 200,000 job opportunities and has paid a stipend of close to 2.5 billion. Madam Speaker, I know it's very hard for the opposition and they really need to gel us down on the Nasi Ispani program. One of the reasons why they hit this program as hard as they do is because of how powerful it is for young people in this country and how powerful it is for young people in Gauteng. I'm going to take this last minute, Madam Speaker, to address the young people in this House and the young people in this
Madam
province.
Speaker.
Let's
Madam
pause
Speaker.
my time.
Can you hold? Let's pause your time.
Madam Speaker, I think you are not protecting the speakers because this is not correct. We allow members of the opposition to debate. Members of the ANC, when they debate, they keep on being interrupted. Their time goes. They are being drowned. It's not correct, Madam Speaker. It's not correct. Please protect our speakers.
When you listen to me, when?
Honorable colleagues. Honorable Makhane. Honorable Makhane, please.
Speaker.
Colleagues.
On a point of order, Speaker.
What is the point of order?
The point of the Honorable
What is that rule that you are using?
It's 93.
93?
Yes.
What is the point of order?
Yes, it's fine. Speaker, stop ill-treating us. We are members of this House. Stop exposing your feelings for the ANC. Honorable Makubela, it's saying to the Chief Whip of the EFF, Ke tshaba ho betwa ke legadima. I will not respond to that.
Honourable
We must tell you, Speaker,
Honourable
that we
Makwala.
as the EFF, we're not afraid of threats from Makubele. We come with him from Atteridgeville. Pity is no longer in Atteridgeville, is now in the suburbs.
So what's the point of order there?
The point of order is that he must allow what he has just said to the Chief Whip of the EFF.
Thank you. Can you sit down?
Thank you.
Honourable members, can you switch off? Honourable Makhene, please. No, Honourable.
Address my order, Speaker. Address my order. Stop going to the Chief Whip. Address my order. That is addressing Honourable Makubele.
How do you want me to address
Why are you afraid of Honourable Makubele? Why are you afraid of Honourable Makubele? Address my order on Honourable Makubele and we proceed.
Honourable members, there's no point of order here. Honourable Hassan, can you continue?
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. My time was paused at 1 minute 5 seconds. Madam Speaker, I'm going to address the young people in Gauteng, in the gallery, and actually in this country. We know how difficult it is to be a young person in South Africa. We know how painful it is to have been sold the idea that if we study and go to school, we'll get a job and things will be okay. We know how frustrating it is to be told that we did not live during apartheid and should just be grateful. And I know how angering it is to see a rowdy and unbecoming conduct of members while millions of young people in this country are languishing while your public representatives act like clowns in the House. The reality here, Madam Speaker, is I will not always be the youngest member of this administration. The reality is that young people who are sitting out there need to be the ones who are down here. The reality is that by the time we get to the 29th of May 2024, young people need to vote. And they need to vote for the ANC, who remains the only organization who can change our lived reality in this country.
Can you pause, Mpume? Can you pause? Honourable President, note. Sorry. Ubani Kamala, Honourable Parent Host, you are making noise. I didn't say you must respond. There's Rule 77. There's Rule 77. Can you sit down? Honourable members, Rule 77 allows you that at the end of the speech, you raise your hand and you will indicate what you are not happy about, but don't interrupt any member, please. Can you use Rule 77 for that? Continue, Honourable Hassan.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I'm going to reiterate the point because of how important it is. We understand how difficult it is to be a young person in this country. We know how frustrating that process is, and we know how difficult it is being sold the idea of education and coming out on the other side. But the reality, Madam Speaker, and I know that in the next administration I may not enjoy the hat of being the youngest member, so I'm going to use this opportunity, that we as the ANC will work and are working as hard as possible to change the makeup, not only of legislatures and parliament, but of our lived experience. It should be you as young people who are here in this House. It should be us as young people who determine what our future is. It should be us as young people who decide what the South Africa looks like. Because the reality, and you can see this behavior, no one's going to move forward with this behavior. And it needs to be us as young people who on the 29th of May vote for the ANC, who remains the only organization with all of its flaws that can change society. Thank you very much, Member.
Time up.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise in. I said. 292. Madam Speaker,
if you do not.
the latter speaker,
No,
Madam
what
Speaker,
rule are you raising on?
she just told the
Hey,
student
what
to
rule are
come
you
and
raising
vote.
on? Can you sit down? Can you sit down?
Myself, now I can tell you right now which rule. 92. It's
Thank you,
92.
honourable members. The next speaker is Honourable Duplessis.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. As we listened to the State of the Province address, I was reminded of an old quote by George Orwell. Political language is designed to make lies sound truthful and murder respectable, and to give the appearance of solidity to pure wind. The quote is almost 100 years old, and by now politicians should have learnt the importance of honesty and accountability in governance. Unfortunately and sadly, political language hit the reality of the suffering of the people of Gauteng. No matter how many sunrises or sunsets there are, the pain of the most vulnerable still echoes on 30 years after liberation. Not because of a lack of resources, but as a result of a failure to use available resources to build, maintain and innovate in the healthcare system of Gauteng. The United Nations, seen as the organization that determines the direction of our collective care as politicians, speaks of the importance of access to good healthcare. It is in both the Sustainable Development Goals as well as the universal, inalienable human rights. It cannot be removed. The UN goes on to speak about universal health care, and this is a right that the DA supports, as it offers excellent health care to the most vulnerable in society. It is not, and let me say it again, it is not an insurance scam, dipped in empty promises and wrapped in political language. Universal health care is not the national health insurance. NHI cannot be seen as the same as this internationally renowned and implemented system that has given free, world-class health care to the most vulnerable in society. Universal health care can only exist where there is a strong healthcare system, which is why, as Gauteng is still discussing the NHI, the Western Cape has been able to implement universal health care at a growing success rate of 25%, showing how seriously the DA takes redressing the injustices of the past, as well as lightening the burden of disease. Based on evidence and an understanding of good governance practices, we cannot support a slush fund, the NHI, for the political elite who looted 294 million rand of the COVID relief fund. As found in the 600 reported corruption cases, these monies meant for the people of Gauteng and South Africa. The promise that the NHI will offer health care to the people of Gauteng is just that, a promise supported by political language and no action. There really has been little to no action, and the following examples are just pretty much the tip of the iceberg. The Gauteng Department of Health has been discussing and spending the people's money on e-health and a one folder per patient system for almost 25 years. And suddenly this week, it is new, it is innovative, it is fresh. The failure to implement an e-health system has nothing to do with COVID, lack of resources or load shedding, because Hectus is fully operational in the Western Cape. It is a one folder per patient system, communicates with patients and medical staff, tracks waiting times of patients to keep improving and to fulfill international standards. Other examples of failures in Gauteng the 380 million spent on the non-existent Kopanong COVID hospital, Kliptown Clinic sending away emergencies, multiple. Province-wide waiting times of ambulances anywhere between 1 hour or 5 hours, and we have not yet received the requested and promised income and expenditure reports of the department. And let's not mention the province again, but their full and detailed financial reports are just a Google search away. There is more. There is more. Heartbreakingly, that Gauteng does less.
Time up.
More.
Thank you. Time up.
As a province, we were asked to believe, in spite of evidence,
Time up. Time
that
up,
the
Honourable
current
Member.
government will improve. And I wish I could.
Your time is up. Honourable Litswalo. Your time is up, Honourable Member. Honourable Litswalo. Honourable.
Salutations to our Premier, as well as yourselves, honourable members. Well, I suppose if it's efficient, it becomes a talking point, Premier Lissouf. So the issue around the Mapanyaza seemingly is a talking point because it's an efficient program, which is reaching through. Madam Speaker, if only we had worthy opponents in this August House, then I would have labored to unravel at length the evolution of our constitutional democracy with all of its contrasts. I would labor to showcase the blueprint of the future that has beckoned since the first democratic elections 30 years ago. But of course, the cynics would not comprehend the dynamism of a great journey, for they lack the scientific sophistry of developmental trajectories. I posit that we do not have worthy opponents in this August House, but we have untrained minds which are not set to even recognize their own realities, a reality of a thriving democracy. Yes, with its ebbs and flows, but mostly notable gains. The 30 years of our democracy, heralded by the ANC, permits them to occupy seats in this House, and yet they completely deny its progress. Talk about self-denialism. Madam Speaker, I wish to put it on record that today we are not debating, for we do not have worthy opponents. And so instead we are merely rehashing facts before the public so that the political cynics on the other side can be reawakened from their amnesia and cognitive dissonance. Cynics are always disappointed with the future, and it makes for no amusement that today the opposition benches are doing what they are accustomed to, bickering, more bickering about the track record of the ANC, and not forget to state their contributions to the reversal of the democratic gains, a serious blow to the residents of our province. We can talk about the city of Tshwane. We can talk about the ruins of the city of Joburg. We can talk about the degeneration of the city of Ikoruleni, all of which are suffering regressive degeneration due to the misgovernance by the leadership misfits belonging to our opposition here. Well, one of them, Mr. Musimanga, who has got no burning shame about the flagrant state of the disaster that he has left behind, and yet still harbors ambitions of being a premier of this esteemed province. Imagine that. Just imagine that. Imagine the chaos. Imagine the chaos that would erupt with either the DA or the EFF leading this province. We would be a province of potholes, of bodybuilders and academic fraudsters taking over our offices, a province which rationalizes provision of services such as the case in Tshwane, a province which can submit financial statements in time and where impunity is the order of the day. This is the legacy of Mr. Msimanga. This is the legacy of Mr. Msimanga. It is also the legacy of Mr. Dunga, who in their short stint of governance have pillaged and condemned the beautiful cities of Tshwane and Ikuruleni into perennial state of decay. And so let's remind ourselves let's remind ourselves that we do not have worthy opponents in this August House, because hypocrisy and cynicism defines their very existence. Madam Speaker, having dispensed with the lies and prevarications of the blue and red political cynics, let me hasten to state that the track record of the ANC-led government can be said to feature more success stories than shortcomings. At no stage have these shortcomings been paper-toweled, and neither have they married the beautiful story of our 30 years of democracy. Ours is a durable constitutional democracy. Illustrating this point, I want to invoke the words of former President Jimmy Carter, who says, and I open quote, "The experience of democracy is like experience of life itself, always changing, infinite in its variety, sometimes turbulent, and all the more valuable for having been tested in adversity," close quote. That, members, is just how democracy works. Not perfectionism, democracy, a work in progress. Undeniably, our democracy has yielded many notable achievements. In our beautiful province of Gauteng, the ANC-led government, in complementing the virtues of democracy, has since 1994 strove to embed the culture of social justice within its governance model. This commitment has responded to social needs and pressures aimed to create an enabling environment capable of driving the developmental thrust of our people in a manner that unlocks their own potential. We have over the years passed a great number of strategies and plans to make Gauteng a globally competitive province, which it is today. Evidently, all the surveys done by the Gauteng City Region Observatory since 2011 show that there was continuous investment and real improvements in the quality of life, infrastructure, basic services, and governance in the pre-pandemic years. Honorable members, when the ANC came into government in 1994, we inherited nothingness, and we built from scratch what today we have as critical assets in the hands of Gauteng residents. We did not only build bridges, we tarred roads, provided decent housing to over 1.2 million beneficiaries. We built clinics where none ever existed, lit up countless communities, transported, clothed, and fed school learners, including all other vulnerable groups. Through our transformative social policy, we brought dignity into households which were scorned by decades of generational poverty. We produced the likes of DA member Msimanga. We produced the likes of DA member Msimanga, enabled the EFF member Makwala to participate in an array of government programs when they had nothing. When they had nothing. Oh yes, members of the beneficiaries are also, members of the opposition are also beneficiaries of the ANC-led government. I think that must be stated. We have went beyond, we have went beyond brick and mortar structures. We have pioneered the building of institutions, giving agency to the masses, and hence members like Chabalala, you will hear member Chabalala as he comes through, who will attempt to vocalize a nothingness. We have given images, and Masola, who today can be vocal as well over nothingness. They come from nothingness. The ANC-led government has contributed to them being something today. We have conceptualized frameworks to ensure programs, coordination, and accountability. We have built models that would define the overall development of our province well into the future. We built the Gauteng City Region, an economic powerhouse whose economy is comparable to the economy of great African countries. Talk about Kenya, Ethiopia, Tanzania. The first premier of Tokyo also confirms this reality, that when he came into office in 1994, there was nothing. Neither did he even have an office. He would even have to take his interviews in an office in Pretoria. As we conclude, in the final analysis, the ANC-led government will always remain caring and pursue a better life for all. We are, after all, the people's movement, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
Honorable Shabalala. Honorable Shabalala.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Member Letswalo, when you talk about nothingness, look no further than your Premier, as is the embodiment of nothingness. Madam Speaker, the Tonga language has a famous expression, Mintiro ya bulabula. This is a classic aposem that roughly translates as good deeds speak louder than words. It encourages us as it encourages us as leaders to be self-effacing and allow our actions to speak for us, while also discouraging us for self-promotion. As I listened to the Premier deliver the SOPA on Monday, I could have sworn that he had not come across this crucial Tonga idiom. If he had, he would have not succumbed to the law of presenting himself as a man whose deed back up his words, while this is not true. There can be no doubt that Gauteng municipalities are regressing, except the DA-led municipality. Midval recently received its 10th consecutive clean audit and is providing essential services to its citizens on continuous and sustained basis. It has the lowest unemployment rate in our province. It does not subject it does not subject its residents to water shedding, and it continues to attract investment due to clean and efficient governance. It is also worth noting that progress continues to be made in Tshwane, regardless of the blatant political sabotage, corruption and maladministration perpetrated by the incompetent cadres of the ANC. These municipalities serve as a beacon of hope for Gauteng residents who have been Judas Iscarioted by the ANC government, to borrow from the words of a Sowetan reader. The Premier in his SOPA indicated that they are ready to intervene where municipalities cannot render services to our people. He went on to boast that his government is close to signing an agreement with Pick It Up, so that where there is no refuse collection in our province, they will step up and collect it. While one admires the conviction with which the Premier spoke, we must remind him that the same Pick It Up is facing challenges such as fleet breakdowns and not having proper fleet contracts in place, which is negatively affecting service delivery. To observe this, simply drive around Johannesburg CBD, not to mention places like Orange Farm, Fine Towns, where you will see piles and heaps of rubbish. When will the Premier realize that throwing money at a problem is not always the best solution? A case in point is Mfuleni local municipality that has disintegrated because of years of inefficiency and corruption fueled by the incompetent ANC comrade. It is a fact that this municipality cannot even provide the most basic services like refuse collection, yet ANC-connected companies continue to charge municipality millions of rands for this service. The roads in this municipality are riddled with potholes, and the streets are flooded with sewer and clean water. This is because the municipality failed to maintain its infrastructure. While officials tasked with fixing water and blocked sewer pipes continue to claim overtime, even when most of these functions have been outsourced to incompetent service providers with close ties to the ANC regional leadership. The AG recently gave Mfuleni municipality a qualified audit opinion for 22-23 financial year, which is a second in a row. It was also reported that authorized expenditure is around 2.2 billion, and 50 million of the municipal infrastructure grant was unspent and returned to Treasury, even amid of service delivery challenges like in the municipality. The AG also raised concerns about the absence of leadership in supply chain management, inexplicably headed by ANC Regional Secretary, who's supposed to be on sabbatical leave, yet continues to draw salary from the municipality. Madam Speaker, the DA has a plan to rescue Gauteng and its municipality from further collapse. Our first step will be to fix what is broken in the province by abolishing cadre deployment, firing corrupt officials, and appoint competent people capable of delivering services. This will ensure that our municipalities are staffed with qualified professional people who are concerned with service delivery. One of the priorities of the DA government in this province will be to ensure that dysfunctional municipalities like Mfuleni, City of Joburg, Ekurhuleni, Mirafong, Lesedi, and Rand West City are effective professional and meritorious, based on the sole focus of delivering quality service to the residents of Gauteng.
Thank you.
The time
Time
has
up.
come for the government whose
Time up.
actions speak to the masses.
Time
not
up.
empty words, shout.
Time up. Your time up is up. Did you look at the shoes? No, I didn't see. Humble look. Go and look. Honorable Dlamini.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, Honorable Premier and Honorable Members. Madam Speaker, the Inkatha Freedom Party denounces the violent threats and chaos displayed before this House during the State of the Province address on Monday evening. One would have never imagined that after 3 decades of our democracy, we will witness things like the throwing of bottles, hurling of insult, and the threats of violence between invited guests and members of the House during a sitting. Such displays of political immaturity and intolerance are shameful indictment on the state of our democracy, and we strongly condemn it. Madam Speaker, the Honourable Premier Lesufi started off his address by reminiscing about the first democratic... I'm not well, Madam Speaker. Can I be allowed to sit down? I'm not well, Madam Speaker. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm from a very terrible flu. Yes. Sorry? Your friends? No, please. Support.
Speaking ill against you.
No. Madam Speaker, Honourable Premier, Lesufi started off his address by reminiscing about the first democratic SOPA delivered in 1994. He reminded us that there was no Gauteng legislature, and neither there were any Gauteng government departments, and many of the economic and social transformation achievements to speak of back then. Indeed, when the first SOPA debate was held in 1994, it was debating a different state of the province from what we have today. Back then, it was a province full of hope and prospect of a success, marking the start of a new democracy. The imagination of many South Africans in 1994 did not anticipate that 30 years on, our nation would be infamously known for having one of the highest levels of unemployment, inequality, sexual violence, and worsening levels of corruption in the world. Yet, what is exactly where we are today? Madam Speaker, today it is apparent just how much the ANC has really dropped the ball through its consistent looting and mismanagement and failures in the 30 years. It is the ANC's government's failures that have resulted in Gauteng being accountable for the 27% of the national overall crime statistics for the 4th quarter of 2022 and 2023 financial year. It was barely 24 hours after the Premier's address where he boasted about the success of the crime prevention wardens Amapanyaza and part of ensuring that no corner of our CBD will go unpoliced, that we heard of the news reports that where innocent motorists were being subjected to a robbery by suspected armed illegal miners in one of the Johannesburg busiest highways in broad daylight. Such incidents are a daily reality for the citizens of Gauteng, where crime is extremely out of control. Therefore, the IFP welcomes the plans proposed to combat the brazen criminal lurking around in every corner of this province. In particular, the use of technology, including CCTVs, e-panic buttons, surveillance drones, and the increase of crime prevention wardens from 7,000 to 12,000 to help with crime prevention is commendable. Such efforts not only help in crime prevention, but they also alleviate the burden of unemployment and poverty within our communities. Therefore, the IFP urges that these measures of crime prevention be rolled out as early as possible. In one of Premier Lesufi's commitment last year, he stated emphatically that under his leadership, this government will work to ensure that it is inclusive. He will he committed to allocating more resources towards the improvement of living conditions of all townships, informal settlements, and hostel communities. However, this year, it seems the Premier has sudden change of heart as he only acknowledged the revamping of the 6 provincial hostels and further stated that the rest of the hostel communities must look for help from their municipalities in the province. Ironically, the Premier also admitted that some of these municipalities are cash-strapped and unable to deliver on their functions. In fact, the Premier went so far as to commit to the Gauteng Provincial Government will take over some of the municipal functions, such as refuse collection and water provision in the failing municipalities. Yet this intervention will not extend to the upliftment of hostel communities, except for the 6 provincial hostels. Lokhu kwenza sizibuze futhi singabazi ukuthi ngempela lo hulumuntu uzimisele ngokushintsha isimo senhlalakahle. Ayi.
Thank you, Honorable Dlamini.
Madam Speaker, in conclusion,
thank you.
This year's SOPA...
Thank you, Honorable Dlamini.
Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Nkomraliuku.
I'm not a beneficiary, please. I'm not a beneficiary. I'm not remote controlled. I'm a free agent.
I had a quick call to Tate Mfundisi, Reverend from ACDP, and I've asked the 4 minutes of his time, so he said I must ask from you, with your permission.
Unfortunately, he's the one who must tell us, not... Yeah.
Said you'll check. Can you check your message, Madam Speaker? Madam Speaker, let me greet you and the Deputy Speaker and Premier of our province, the leaders of the political parties, led the Chief Whip of the governing party, members of the Executive Council, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, residents of Gauteng. Madam Speaker, it is an honor to introduce our special guest today. At just 24 years old, Dr. Takalo Tibela, that has already made a significant impact in the medical field.
Wow.
She made history as the youngest female medical doctor that she is.
Yes, girl. Yes, girl.
She made history as the youngest female doctor in South Africa, achieving a Bachelor of Medicine and a Bachelor of Surgery from Wits University in 2020 at the remarkable age of 21 years old. Dr. Tibela completed her internship at Helen Joseph Hospital and her community service at Mapulaneng Hospital. Her ambition is to specialize in neurosurgery, a testament to her dedication and a passion to healthcare. Dr. Tibela is part of a new generation of medical professionals eager to contribute to improving healthcare access in Gauteng. As we welcome Dr. Tibela today, it is also a moment to reflect on the journey of the 6th ANC-led administration. Dr. Tibela akasakho unemployed imbone phake ngokulandla. Asimbizanga because go demonstrate ngayo. Is the reason that she's part of us in the department.
It's not temporary.
Yeah, you're called temporal and it's permanent. Nah, CISPAN. So as we welcome Dr. Tibela today, it is also a moment to reflect on the journey of the 6th ANC-led administration, as highlighted by Premier Lesufi during his State of the Province address on Monday. The Premier eloquently recounted the path we have traveled, acknowledging both our triumphs and the challenges that we have faced. Throughout this journey, the people of Gauteng have seen our steadfast companions working alongside with us and witnessing the first-hand experiences that have shaped our path to this final mile. So as we near the conclusion of this administration's term, it is crucial to reflect on the progress made and the impact on the lives of the people of Gauteng, especially regarding health and wellness. Premier Lesufi's address underscored this, emphasizing the importance of including the people of this province in our journey. They know what we have experienced because they have been with us every step of the way. By working side by side with the people of Gauteng, our story as the ANC-led government cannot be contradicted because the truth is known by them. And what is this truth? Honorable members, the truth is that many people in our communities suffer from mobility issues constant pain and vision problems due to conditions like hip or knee fractures and cataracts. These mamela la wena aba bantu endithetha ngabo ngabe constituency yakho. These health issues greatly impact their lives, but they often cannot afford the necessary surgeries. To improve the quality of life for our people and prevent further harm from delayed surgeries, we've made significant strides in reducing the backlogs, and by the February 28, 85% of cataract has been done, 84% of general surgery has been done, 79% of arthroplasty, which is knee and hip replacement of backlogs, have been addressed. Surgical procedures like total hip and knee replacements are crucial, but they come with substantial cost. Cataracts in particular remain a leading cause of blindness in Africa. In June 2023, our province had a backlog of 37,000 of various procedures. Through dedicated efforts, we have reduced this backlog to 7,261 as of this week, with a goal to clear it the entire backlog as on the end of March 2024. This progress, Madam Speaker, has been achieved through a concerted effort to prioritize these surgeries and ensure that those in need receive timely and quality care. It is a clear affirmation of our commitment to improve the lives of the people of Gauteng, reducing the burden of diseases in our communities. The success of our efforts in addressing surgical backlogs has had a profound impact in the communities. People who were once living with debilitating pain, limited mobility, and visual impairment as a result of cataracts are now being able to live more comfortably and actively participate in their communities. Families have been spared the emotional and financial burden of caring for loved ones with chronic health issues. Overall, the reduction of surgical backlogs have contributed to a healthier and more vibrant province for all. Madam Speaker, in the ever-evolving landscape of healthcare, the advent of digital technologies opens up a plethora of possibilities, offering transformative benefits for patients' care and healthcare providers alike. Premier Sufi underscored again this important role that they are playing through the GPG panic button, and we are advocating for our healthcare workers to download and utilize this application. It is significant and it's very important as it enhances security measures, crucially safeguarding our healthcare workforce against the backdrop of escalating crime levels that threaten their life, especially in their workplace. With the realm of the health information system, significant progress again has been achieved. 3 of the 4 modules, which encompass patients' administration, billing, financing, and revenue, have been seamlessly integrated into all 37 hospitals and 33 community healthcare centers. The rigorous users acceptance testing conducted by clinicians at all levels of care for the clinical module signifies its approval and readiness for implementation. The system's deployment that has been deployed now at Mamelodi Hospital is a critical milestone, and I want, Madam Speaker, all members that I have an opportunity to definitely communicate with us so that we can show how that system works, because we are going to roll it out to all the hospitals and other clinics in the province. And this commencement of this clinical module roll out to all facilities, starting with the central hospitals. Furthermore, the commitment to advancing the implementation of the picture archiving and communication system is starting at Dr. George Mukari Hospital. This holds promise for improved access to radiological imaging services, thereby enhancing diagnostic capabilities across the entire healthcare cluster. In our relentless pursuit of operational efficiency and patient-centric care, the developed meds program, previously known as Central Chronic Medicine Dispense and Distribution, continues to attract more users. This innovation initiative allows patients to collect their prescribed medications promptly upon notification and reducing the waiting times in the hospitals and clinics. And this program's impact, it's very profound, which is impressive that now we've reached 1,338,709 patients currently registered in the system. By January 2024, we have 71034 patients that had actively benefited from the program, experiencing the first-hand of the convenience and efficiency that it offers in medication management and distribution. Moreover, the implementation of these digital healthcare initiatives underscores our commitment to embracing innovation and leveraging technology to enhance the quality of patients' care, improve healthcare delivery, and ultimately transform the healthcare landscape in the province. Madam Speaker and honorable members, our commitment to enhancing the capacity in our healthcare system is rooted in our dedication in ensuring that every citizen has access to high-quality healthcare services. By leveraging accessibility in private hospitals such as Nelson Mandela Children's Hospital, we aim not to only expand our service offerings, but also ensure that our healthcare facilities are strategically located to meet the needs of our communities. This approach is important in relieving the pressure on the existing public healthcare institutions and improving overall healthcare delivery. Our ongoing engagements with the private sector are very crucial for assessing their service platforms and expertise. These partnerships are essential for enhancing the quality of our healthcare services and ensuring that we can effectively address the healthcare needs of the growing population of Gauteng. As these engagements progress, we are confident that we'll be able to secure the support needed to strengthen the healthcare system. In the coming months, we will provide further updates regarding the specific details, and these announcements will not only demonstrate our commitment to transparency and accountability, but also provide a roadmap for expanding healthcare access to improving healthcare outcomes across the nation. Furthermore, the construction of Deep Slot, Olivenwood, Davidton, New Orange Farm District Hospital, Soshanguve District Hospital underscores again our commitment to improving primary healthcare platforms and meeting the growing healthcare needs of our population. These hospitals, once they are operational, will significantly enhance our healthcare infrastructure and improve access to healthcare services for communities across Gauteng. Site acquisition for these hospitals has already been done, and the steps in this process are at a final stages and signifies our commitment to delivering our promise to quality healthcare for all. Madam Speaker, public healthcare infrastructure serves as a foundation for delivering essential healthcare services to communities. The department has made significant strides in upgrading existing facilities and constructing new ones to enhance healthcare accessibility and delivery. Our commitment to action is evident in the operationalization of 6 new clinics as pledged to the 2023 State of the Province Address. These modern facilities are now providing vital services to the communities, reflecting our dedication again to improving healthcare across the province. Our commitment to excellence in healthcare is exemplified by our specialized centers, which have led the way in advancing medical interventions and improving healthcare across. These centers have not only enhanced healthcare delivery, but have also played a very important role in advancing medical research and training. Through our investment in healthcare infrastructure, we have been able to provide hope and specialized care to a range of patients, particularly those requiring oncology and burns treatment. The Zakiti Nkosi Pediatric Hematology and Oncology Clinic at Chris Hani Baragwanath Academic Hospital stands as a beacon of hope for children with cancer and life-threatening blood disorders across the South Africa. This clinic serves more than 700 children with various cancers, including leukemia, Wilms, tumor, and sarcoma from different provinces in the country. This clinic is a testament to our commitment to providing specialized care and treatment to those in need. The impact of our...
Thank you. Thank you. Honorable Bosch. Honorable Bosch.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Gauteng, the economic heart of our nation, is under siege. Crime casts a long shadow, eroding our sense of safety, hindering investment and stifling the dreams of our citizens. From violent robberies to brazen hijackings, from petty theft to devastating gender-based violence, residents live in constant fear. Premier Panyaza Lesufi began his very last SOPA by highlighting that the focus during this 6th administration was on fighting crime, with a 5-year Gauteng policing plan and increasing resources to our police stations to fight crime. He went on to report that the panic buttons promised in the 2023 SOPA has been rolled out. But this, as we know, is not true. Why would the Premier only inform Gauteng citizens on Monday, 12 months later, that they can download the e-panic button app on their mobile phones if this security measure was already fully operational? Surely this is a hint that the Premier's pledges are impractical and unattainable, and despite his denials, cannot be fully implemented because they are unrealistic. Honourable members, let us remember some of the horror stories over the past 12 months. Weekly killings in Riverlea, Eldorado Park and Westbury due to gangsterism. 2 boys mutilated in Soweto. A girl's vagina cut open with a glass bottle in Tembisa. An Angelo explosion due to illegal mining that killed 17 people. A woman murdered at the same spot as where her mother got killed years ago in Jukulan. 4 gunmen robbing people in peak time traffic just a few kilometres from this house. Madam Speaker, these are all real-life incidents and merely a drop in the ocean compared to all the incidents that transpired over the past 12 months. They do not paint a picture of a province fighting crime, but one that has lost the fight against crime. The DA remained concerned about the legitimacy of the crime prevention safety wardens and the training they received. We cannot have a situation where 7,000 crime wardens are appointed to certify documents while criminals roam the streets freely. While the internal fights continue to thrive to try and score cheap political points between Premier Lesufi and the Minister of Police about the legitimacy of the wardens, and the power struggle between Premier Lesufi and the MMC for community safety in the city of Johannesburg over the CCTV cameras, the residents of Gauteng continue to live in fear. Premier Lesufi boasts about the drones, yet this is nothing but another lie that was sold to the hopeless residents living in fear. It was repeated as a success story in the SOPA this year. It was less than 2 weeks ago when we were informed in the committee meeting for community safety that there would no longer be 170 drones, but that there will only be sufficient funds for 30 drones. We went from 3,000 drones during 2023 SOPA to 170 and now finally 30 in a matter of 12 months, from one SOPA to the next SOPA. The DA demands tangible proof of action on safety promises. Where are the drones, the panic buttons, the CCTV cameras, the extra vehicles? The DA has visited all 143 police stations across the province, and we have been unable to trace any of these promises that was made. However, we do have a needs and priorities list that we are willing to share with Premier Lesufi. The list will assist the province to allocate the correct resources to where they are indeed needed. But today is not just about doom and gloom. As a House, we can reach one agreement. Fighting crime should be a priority. During the 2024 SOPA, Premier Lesufi proved to the residents of Gauteng why this should be his very last SOPA. Filled with empty promises we should never ever have to listen to again. It is time to vacate the seat and allow the DA to implement its plans for combating crime. The DA, through its manifesto, offers a bold and comprehensive plan to wrestle back control of our streets and rebuild a Gauteng where people feel safe and secure. We will start with the basics, fixing and addressing and strengthening law enforcement and addressing the root causes of crime. Madam Speaker, this is not about statistics, it's about lives and dreams. The DA offers a long-term collaborative plan to work with communities, civil society and other stakeholders to build a safer Gauteng, where fear gives way to hope and insecurity to opportunity. Let's count down to May the 29th for the DA to implement these solutions and create a Gauteng filled with hope and opportunity that's safe for all residents in Gauteng.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honourable Bosch. May we then have Member Mutara to respond to the speech.
Thank you very much, House Chair. House Chair, allow me to read an extract from a letter we received from the President of Ford Africa, Mr. Neil Hill, on the 8th of November 2023, and it says, and I quote, "Heeding the call for cleaner energy, FMCSA is pleased to announce that the Silverton Assembly Plant will expand its production to include the plug-in hybrid electric vehicle in the Ranger program. Production expected to commence during the Q3 of 2024. To accommodate this expansion, FMCSA has invested an additional 5.2 billion rand to ensure consistency in building world-class vehicles." Honourable Msimang, when you were the mayor, you Lots of fanfare. You went to Taz's special economic zone, claimed that it was yours. Today you stand here and you want to pretend as if it doesn't exist. You also want to speak about it not being the Premier's responsibility, or that the Premier wants to claim it as his own. We claim it as an ANC success. The aftermath of COVID-19 has reshaped the global landscape, leaving a world grappling with increased inequalities across various demographics, including race, income, gender, and age. The pandemic triggered recession, the most severe in over a century, eroded years of progress in human development, economic advancement, and international collaboration. This erosion has exacerbated geopolitical tensions amongst key trade and investment partners, widening inequality gaps, escalating youth unemployment, fueled inflation, dampened economic growth, and stifled social mobility. The IMF reports that global economic expansion was 3.5% in 2022 and estimated at 3.1% for the year concluded. The virus has notably reversed a decade's worth of growth per capita incomes in Africa, plunging the most vulnerable region into deeper debt and worsening human development indices. Looking ahead, the global economic outlook is set for modest growth, 3.1% in 2024 and 3.2% in 2025. These figures fall short of the 3.8% average growth witnessed in the early 21st century. Despite these subdued forecasts, the global economic landscape shows signs of resilience, particularly with the unexpectedly robust performance of economies like the US and China, reducing the immediate risk of global recession. IMF points to strict monetary policies, challenging financial conditions, and weakened global trade and investment as key factors slowing down the growth pace. The economic landscape is further threatened by ongoing conflicts in the Eastern Europe, escalating tensions in the Middle East, sustained inflation, geopolitical-driven trade fragmentation, and climate crises. It's worth noting that if you continue supporting the Israeli attack on Gaza, you are equally contributing to the slow growth in the region. However, the rising cost of living has outpaced wage growth in most G20 nations, including South Africa, resulting in declining real wages. The number of individuals living in extreme poverty earning less than $2.15 a day increased by about 1 million globally in 2023. The situation is even more dire when considering moderate working poverty, with an additional 8.4 million individuals earning less than $3.5 a day. Now let's understand South Africa's recovery against this backdrop. South Africa's journey to economic recovery has notably been challenging, yet it has shown resilience in the face of adversity. The country experienced its most significant economic downturn since the advent of its democracy, but remarkably bounced back to pre-pandemic production levels by the first quarter of 2022, taking just 7 quarters to achieve this milestone. Our region played a pivotal role in this swift recovery, also reaching its pre-pandemic output within the same time frame. Despite the severe impacts of climate-induced disasters like the KZN flood and the unrest in July 2021, South Africa managed to outpace the recovery speed of major advanced economies, including the Euro area and Japan, and matched the recovery pace of the UK, as illustrated in the provided data. Despite fully recovering to pre-pandemic levels by the first quarter of 2022, the South African economy has since expanded by only 0.4% above its pre-pandemic size. Facing these headwinds, the International Monetary Fund adjusted its growth forecasts for South Africa downwards from 1.0% for 2024 and 1.3% for 2025. Now, what has been Gauteng's role in this economy? Gauteng emerged as a central force in South Africa's economic resurgence, as revealed by the latest data from Stats SA. Madam Speaker, by September 2023, the annualized economic output of the city region soared to 1.56 trillion rand, representing 34% of the nation's total economic activity. This is roughly equivalent to the combined GDP of KZN, Western Cape, and the Free State. You can change Free State with Limpopo, it makes no difference. Allow me to digress, Speaker. In 2019, the Gauteng government introduced a new growth strategy, the Growing Gauteng Together 2030. I want to take this opportunity to congratulate the DA-led Western Cape government, which in July 2023 launched its economic growth strategy, Western Cape Growth for Jobs, WCG4J. Notably, the Western Cape, if successful in its ambitions, the Western Cape will be a 1 trillion rand economy by 2035 from the current 650 billion, and will increase the number of people employed by 600 million from 2.7 to 3.3. Gauteng economy is today 1.6 billion. 1.6 trillion, sorry, 1.6 trillion. And we currently employ 5 million. So even with your growth strategy, Western Cape's pipe dream of overtaking the Gauteng city region will never reach, you'll never reach our numbers. You won't reach our numbers. You won't reach our numbers. Of course, for us, we are home to fully operational SEZs, and I've spoken about the 21. I want to speak about the OR Tambo SEZ. Currently, we have with 3 billion investment secured. We will now focus on the second phase, which will focus on establishing pharmaceutical, medical, and platinum group metals. The Vaal Economic Zone is positioned as a catalyst for economic rejuvenation. We have already secured strategic investment of 4.6 billion rand. Despite facing fiscal constraints, we in Gauteng Speaker, let me take this opportunity to congratulate again the DA-led Western Cape government on coming second to Gauteng on several economic indicators. One, the 2023 Kearney Global Cities Index evaluates cities worldwide based on their capacity to draw international capital, talent, and innovation. In this assessment, Johannesburg leads African cities, securing the 58th spot globally. Following closely is Cairo, ranked 60th, with Cape Town, wait for it, at number 84. In the Global Financial Center Index, Joburg is distinguished as the top financial hub in Africa, placed 31st worldwide. This ranking assesses its effectiveness as a competitive international financial center. Cairo is the only other African city to be featured in this ranking. There's no Cape Town. They're not ranked. At the end of December for international air travel, OR Tambo International Airport was the primary gateway into and out of South Africa. 68.2% of international arrivals and 68.8% of departures passing through it. Additionally, it was the transit point for 99.2% of the passengers. In the fiscal year 2023, from 2024 January to December, OR Tambo International saw 5.3 million international passengers. Wait, in Western Cape, 1.8 million. Speaker, most people like those of the DA use statistics like a drunk man uses a lamppost. More for support, less for illumination and understanding. In closing, we must remain vigilant as others celebrate statistical outcomes. Gauteng's unemployment rate of 33.8% reminds us that our country has one of the lowest employed top population ratios in this world. This means without any meaningful intervention and despite levels of industrialization, our economy has a much lower propensity to create jobs. Stop sponsoring the war in the Middle East. Maybe we will also see recovery in the region. Equally, the relentless dedication of the team in the Gauteng Department of Economic Development and its agencies cannot be overstated. Their tireless efforts behind the scenes have been the backbone of our steady recovery. Their work often goes unseen, but it's never unappreciated. Thank you for turning vision into reality and for setting the stage for these important conversations that spark change and propel us towards a brighter future. I thank you.
Thank you very much, honourable members. May I then request Honourable Murate to please respond to the debate.
I can't hear you, Madam Speaker, Madam Chair of Chairs. I can't hear you. Yes?
I thought it was a chance to speak, Honourable Murate.
Thank you. Thank you
Please
very much.
respond to the debate.
Honourable Chair of Chairs, for 30 years we've had the privilege of being lectured of the wisdom of revolutionary philosophers. A line favoured by our friends on the other side is that of Amilcar Cabral. Tell no lies, claim no easy victories. Madam Chair of Chairs, Honourable Makupela wants his nappies. Please help him. Celebrities have fans and followers that like to call themselves by a name. Those following Taylor Swift call themselves Swifties. I read somewhere that Casper Nyovest fans are called Sipibians. Premier Lessufi has fans. He's also got detractors. But I don't know what the Premier's fan club is called, but no doubt they loved his speech on Monday. They would. That's what fans do. They follow blindly. It doesn't matter if an easy victory is claimed, it doesn't matter if it's untrue. The celeb simply can do no wrong. He claimed a victory for Gauteng being the biggest economy. No, Honourable Matara, that's not an ANC success. That's been the case since 1895. He claimed a victory for Gauteng being the home of all the embassies. You know what I find strange, Honourable Msimanga? This terrible metro called Tshwane. Somehow the embassies don't want to leave there. They want to stay there. Ford wants to make its factories there, as does BMW. But it's so bad, according to them. Some of them, these embassies, have been there before you were born, Honourable Premier. Heck, even before I was born. He talked about thousands and billions. I can't comment on all of them. I'll pick just one. The 8 billion rand of someone else's money that he claimed for an SAZ in Naval. When he spoke, he raved about tourism and Sun City on the river. But in the written speech, he wrote about agro-processing and manufacturing. And we are left wondering which of these is true. At least he didn't talk about prawn farms in the West Rand like his predecessor did. Much like other SOPA promises that came and went empty, it's highly likely that this one's promises will also prove to be empty promises. He spoke about 90,000 people now being employed. That's strange because that would add 3 billion rand to our cost of employment budget, but it's not there. You don't see it anywhere. Last year, the Premier announced, and you should be educated by this, Honourable Maile, the Premier announced a project preparation analysis unit, but nowhere does this appear in any budget or the APP. I'm sorry that Honourable Premier has been defeated. It's just what it is. Anyway, it's abandoned. This project of the Premier is abandoned. But despite the Gauteng Provincial Treasury working on an alternative, the MEC for Finance, in his response to me, says, I must ask you, Honourable Premier, for the reasons why there's been a lack of progress. Mr. Premier, instead of backing you on an unfulfilled promise, your MEC has thrown you under a bus. How do we respond to one who promises to, but failed to deliver on last year's promises, who claims easy victories and says that all of these things, but they actually are not true? We heard the Premier repeating what the Bible says, love them. But the Bible also says, who will rescue me? Well, the DA has got good news for the people of Gauteng. Put us in government and we will rescue you from the government's corruption. We can save 2 billion rand from the Department of Health alone. This and money from other sources can pay for our infrastructure backlogs. The DA has the will and the plan to rescue the people of Gauteng from crime and the fear of violence and harm. We have a plan to cover the full 12,400 megawatts of electricity that is needed over the 5 years, and not just the 100 megawatts here and the 300 there as promised to the Premier. The Premier rejoiced over the AG's report in Gauteng, but what he didn't say was that the AG said the Western Cape is better. The choice facing Gauteng in 2024 is very simple. Either go with what you've got, which is terrible, or choose something, a government, a DA party that has proven, while it's not perfect, is better at running a government. Thank you very much.
Honourable Makwala, it's your turn to respond to the debate.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Speaker, if the Premier is consistent about employment and the employment of young people, why is Premier Lesufi not insourcing security guards of this legislature? Why is Premier Lesufi not agreeing with the motion of the EFF to insource security guards here?
Point of order. Chairperson, you're sitting there openly insulting, loudly insulting another member here, and you're not saying anything.
They've sent their WhatsApp.
No, calling the member saying you're saying, calling him
She's
black
on
cell.
WhatsApp.
He says, "Will you are drunk at black cell." No. Oh. Let him repeat it. No, he's calling this. Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Hey, so that I can
All right.
respond.
Can we please ask that leader of government business, Ntate MEC Maile, to withdraw the unparliamentary words of calling member Makwala a bloody black cell?
Okay, thank you. And Tatemakona, can you sit down?
Are you sure about I withdraw?
Oh, you withdraw.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Okay. But you withdraw in the soul. Okay. Tatemakona,
Deputy
can you please
Speaker.
continue with your speech, sir?
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. The difference with SONA delivered by President Matamela and the SOPA of Premier Lesufi is that beside untold stories and said realities that our people face, SONA had a name, called it Ntswalo. But here we are subjected to lies, we are subjected to corruption in this legislature by the Premier of Gauteng, and he has not even touched on this. But we wanted a Premier to be here and ask him, why is he not insourcing security guards in the legislature here, if he indeed is consistent about employment? Wanted to...
And Tatemakon, the speaker requested, not the speaker, the Premier requested to listen to the speeches in his office in order to prepare for a response, and he's going to save us time. You realize when he responds.
We are saying, why is the Premier not agreeing with the motion of the EFF to insource all these security guards in the legislature who are exploited, who are working without benefits, who are working without provident fund, who are working without pay slips from Mafoko and are exploited by Mafoko, but the Premier is not saying anything. If the Premier is consistent about creation of viable and solution employment, why is he not starting with these securities here who are paid less than 6,000, who are paid less than 5,000 in his own offices? Premier, we saw the Premier venturing on the stage telling us about how Emma Sateche did not die in vain and how Gauteng would have been a better place for Emma and the ideas she fought for. 12 months later, the Premier is clearly tired from his own empty promises and there's no creative punchline to deliver empty promises to the people of Gauteng. Allow us, Deputy Speaker, to lift the veil of Lesufism and paint you the picture of the reality of millions of Gauteng residents who are suffering under this government and its inability to create meaningful opportunities and improve the general standard of living of our people in Gauteng. We deliver this debate for the people of Mushongo, where I come from, Honorable Makovela, not in an RDP. I wanted to address Eric Rose wannabe of the ANC. I come from a sheikh, not an RDP of ANC. We debate this on behalf of the poor people of Mushongoville and the millions of our people living in informal settlements around Gauteng. As part of your elevated commitment delivered last year, the Premier promised to drastically change the living conditions within the 26 township and 700 informal settlements, as well as the 6 provincially owned hostels. In 2023, Premier committed to upgrading 179 informal settlements, yet a few days ago, you stood before us, Premier, committing to only 68 this year. Furthermore, Deputy Speaker, the Premier failed to provide us with an actual detailed breakdown of the 179 informal settlements that should have been upgraded last year, as well as an update on the status of the hostels of Marai Roberts, the hostels of Rekabile, and the hostels for upgrade project. Still, in terms of this, only 126 landlords out of 2,000 applications have been approved to date in all contexts of a Gauteng that has millions of township tenants. Deputy Speaker, there is an ongoing false narrative that the EFF merely criticized for the sake of it, and we would like to dispel this narrative today. It is the job of the EFF to hold this corrupt government to account on behalf of the people of Gauteng. And on behalf of the people of Gauteng, we are asking the Premier, Deputy Speaker, to account as to why his government is forcefully removing the poor black people of their land where they've occupied, since it is evident that this previous administration is failing to adequately address the crisis of congested township and informal areas. Stop evicting our people from habitable land they have occupied. We do, however, realize that this might be a difficult task for this government or this administration, since you are overseeing an administration with a delinquent department of infrastructure whose dysfunction and inability to complete projects due to the scourge of corruption has severely impacted the performance of other departments, namely health and education. Schools like JB Matawan in Ivory Park, with their dilapidated mobile classrooms, which, by the way, the Premier during his tenure as the MEC of Education promised to construct a new school for. Across Gauteng, there is scores of incomplete schools infrastructure projects where in 2023 it was estimated that at least 20 schools infrastructure projects will remain in limbo while learners and teachers bear the brunt of overcrowded and dilapidating schools. Deputy Speaker, it is quite concerning that despite emphasizing a commitment towards the fight against corruption in this SOPA, the Premier failed to address the worsening corruption emergency in Gauteng Department of Health, where several of its procurement contracts have come under fire, most notably the food supply contract, where it was revealed that the contractor had links with the Limpopo provincial government and had also deflated the prices of food, despite some hospitals reporting food shortages in 2023. Deputy Speaker, we are not all about criticizing, but rather holding this incompetent government accountable and seeing to it that Lesotho serves his people. This is why we welcome the completion of the Nuclear Medicine Research Institute at the Steve Biko Academic Hospital, as well as efforts in establishing a state-led pharmaceutical company, just as the EFF manifesto advises and outlines. We do, however, Deputy Speaker, wish that the Premier will have also listened to the EFF with regards to Mapanya Panya and his crime-fighting strategy. Deputy Speaker, the third quarterly crime stats for 2023 and 2024 revealed that Gauteng is not turning the tide against crime. More than 17 Gauteng communities had reported the greatest number of serious crimes across all provinces. Furthermore, Gauteng recorded the most cases of contact crime despite the presence of these crime-fighting wardens. The stats do not lie. These wardens are not making any meaningful impact in the fight against crime. Deputy Speaker, we do, however, hope that the Premier's 7,000 cameras can work collaboratively with the EFF MEC, with the EFF capable MEC of community safety in Johannesburg, who launched his smart policing initiative last year in Johannesburg, where he was the first to unveil these CCTV cameras. MEC Mzini is ready and willing for knowledge exchange with the Premier and to share his learnings from this initiative to ensure that the Premier sees to the effective role of this nation. Deputy Speaker, Nina Simone rightfully puts that it is the duty of the artist to reflect on the times, and this is what one of our finest Gauteng rappers, 25K, skillfully does when he addressed the unemployment crisis plaguing the youth of Atteridgeville. The government of South Africa must create jobs for the youth of Atteridgeville, and can not only the kind of jobs where Batubatopa, the Pampiri, but decent jobs. Deputy Speaker, the Nancy Spani initiative failed at creating sustainable and creative decent jobs. Instead, thousands of young people were precariously employed in 6-month contracts, guaranteeing no job security or provident funds. Whereas thousands of more who stood in long queues on June 16 never received any reply. The EFF maintains, Deputy Speaker, that this initiative is nothing short but an ANC electioneering strategy where Premier Panyaza is using the plight of unemployed youth to campaign for the dying ANC in Gauteng. This is why they give out employment letters at the stadium like it's a political rally. This is also why there's no transparency regarding the recruitment process around Nancy Spani, since a lot of these posts are reserved only for ANC volunteers and ANC members.
Thank you very much. Your time is up.
The EFF advocates for the creation
Member,
of sustainable and
no,
decent
I know
jobs.
what I'm doing.
That 25K speaks
I
for
can't
through the
say
building of
everything,
state capacity
Sir,
and massive
your time is
industrialization.
up.
This means
Switch
that
off the
efforts
mic.
to industrialize Gauteng should not be surrendered to the private sector, as the Premier address outlined. Deputy Speaker, the
switch the one
EFF calls
next
for
to you.
political and strategic guidance
the one next
over
to you.
special economic zones to ensure that they...
Where? Thank you very much, Honourable Makwala. Honourable Nell, it's your turn to respond to the debate.
Chair of Chairs, I'll be using the DA's 2 minutes of free time. Chair of Chairs, thank you. Speaker, the Premier's State of the Province speech was like listening to a broken record repeating the same song over and over again. I do feel a bit of sympathy for the Premier, as I can see he's trying very hard, especially in an election year, to convince voters that a leopard can change its spots. But the problem for the Premier is that the residents out there have a lived experiences that makes them very sceptical about the promises of our Premier. This is because of the legacy of 30 years of ANC government. With almost 30 years of ANC government in Gauteng, we've seen growth. We've seen a lot of growth. We've seen significant growth in fruitless and wasteful expenditure. We've seen significant growth in corruption. We have seen significant growth in load shedding. We've seen growth in unemployment. We've seen growth in potholes. But wait, that's not all. We've also seen a lot of increases in that time. We've seen increases in waiting times for patients to get life-saving treatment. We've seen increases in waiting times for ambulances. We have seen an increase in unhappy communities protesting weekly against the failures of their government. We have seen a significant increase in the public sector wage bill, and at the same time we saw a decrease in service delivery. How on earth did that happen? We have seen an increase in promises and a decrease on delivery on promises. But Speaker, it could have been so much different. Imagine what Gauteng could have looked like after 30 years if we had a government that cared more about looking after the taxpayers' money than their own pockets and that of their comrades. If we had a governing party that prioritised citizens rather than their own party political interests. Honourable Premier, you are very bold in announcing that our economy has finally bounced back after COVID-19 and the economic crash of 2009 that was the excuse before that. The reality is that our economy has not bounced back and it is struggling. You see, Honourable Premier, you cannot create jobs without an economy that grows. You cannot grow an economy without investment. You cannot attract investment without a consistent supply of water and electricity. You cannot attract investment if communication goes down because of load shedding. You cannot attract investment unless investors can transport goods on well-maintained roads and rail infrastructure. You cannot attract investment unless you take a hard stance against corruption. You cannot attract investment while criminals are not arrested and convicted and still get away with their crimes. You cannot attract investment unless you develop skills for a modern economy through a proper functioning educational system. You also identified the tourism sector as one of the growth opportunities in our province, and I agree that this industry has great growth opportunities. However, you cannot expect tourists to go to dilapidated monuments and museums because they were not maintained by your government. Just visit the Walter Sisulu Square and go see for yourself. Go visit Sharpeville and go see for yourself. If we cannot fix these fundamentals, then we can forget about any chance of growing our economy. You do indeed identify electricity as one of those inhibitors that we need to address, and we need to end load shedding. But you see, you promised to add 400 megawatts of electricity to Gauteng's grid, but you're surely aware that our immediate need is for 1,700 megawatts in order to keep the lights on. We need to be bolder in our approach and invest much more in independent power production in our province to end debilitating load shedding, which leads to job shedding on a daily basis. Speaker, after another recurring promise is the promise of ending e-tolls in our province. As a DA, we've been at the forefront of calling for and fighting for the ending of e-tolls in Gauteng for many, many years. So we welcome the intention of ending this additional tax burden on our residents. However, we are very concerned. The Premier indicated in an interview after his State of Province address that the Gauteng Provincial Government intend raising a loan to pay its share of the debt, the almost 13 billion rand. Now, the DA has called on the Premier and his government not to raise taxes or institute new taxes to pay for its commitment to the e-toll debt, as this would not bring any relief to citizens in our province. So on face value, taking out a loan to pay the debt seemed like an acceptable solution. The only problem is that loans need to be repaid. Honourable Premier, which department or departments will have to cut budgets in order for the provincial government to repay this loan? Can you state unequivocally here today that no taxes will be raised and no new taxes will be implemented to service this loan? Where will the money come from to service this loan? I'm also concerned that the Premier seems to have recommitted to the Gauteng Freeway Improvement Plan. And Premier, can you give us an undertaking today that these improvements and the further phases of this plan will not be funded by any form of e-tolling? Speaker, the ANC has served its time in our government, and it is time for them to move on. What the people of Gauteng deserve is a government that cares more about looking after taxpayers' money than their own pockets. A governing party that prioritises citizens rather than their own party political interests. A governing party committed to growing the economy that creates jobs. A governing party committed to ending load shedding. A governing party that ensures investment in infrastructure. A governing party that ensures a secure water supply for the province. A party that looks after our cultural heritage. A governing party that will end e-tolls. A governing party that will improve public transport. A governing party that will save lives through a proper healthcare system. A governing party that will jail criminals and corrupt politicians and officials. A governing party that will ensure our children are educated and ready to enter the job market. A governing party that will care for the people of Gauteng. That governing party, Speaker, is the DA, and I'm confident that the citizens of Gauteng will give us a new mandate after the 29th of May and elect the DA to govern this province going forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, honourable members.
Cowards! Cowards!
Yazi bengithi bazovuka labantu kanti bazobaleka. Ayasaba amagwala. It's fine. Yazi into engizoyenza. Can I speak, Madam? Yeah. So what I'll do, I'll just read my speech because I was going to respond. But because this is watched by the citizens of Gauteng, so it's very important that we clarify certain things. So now what I want to deal with, I will put the speech on record so that the Hansard can record it. However, I would have started by saying that, Madam Chair of Chairs, that as we reflect on 30 years of growth, progress and development in our city region, Gauteng, as revolutionary democrats with progressive internationalist inclinations, it behooves us to stand in solidarity with the people of Gaza City, for whom nothing much has changed in the past 30 years, still living as second-class, second-grade citizens in the land of their ancestors, their forebears, because to be truly revolutionary is to fight injustice whenever it raises its ugly head. As Che Guevara reminds us when he says, and I quote, "If you tremble with indignation at every injustice, then you are a comrade of mine," and I close quote. So this is important. This is an important reminder to us as we also continue to wage our own war against the historical injustice, despite 30 years of painstaking progress with an opposition and mainstream that is predominantly liberal democrat and constantly fighting against the quest for change, progress and development for our impoverished masses, an opposition and mainstream media that is invested in the maintaining the status quo at both global and local level. It is imperative that we draw this distinction so that the voting public can be clear and certain about the choices that is before them when we go to the elections on the 29th. The importance of this distinction can be seen in the plight of the people of Khayelitsha, of Langa, of Nyanga, of course not the Nyanga that the matriculant was talking about, and then Kayamnandi and Cape Flats in the Western Cape, who continue to be ignored, overlooked, undermined, and even patronized despite living in a province that is supposedly well run under DA administration. I know they are watching. They are watching. The same phenomenon was experienced, Domkops, by the communities of Togoza, of Davidton, of Katlehong, Watema, and Duduza when the DA was running a Gurulen municipality. And it is a similar reality that is currently faced by the people of Mamelodi, of Atteridgeville, of Ekangala, of Hammanskral, of Mabupani and Harankua under the DA administration in Tshwane. This is a damning indictment on a party that governs increasingly, so primarily for the sake of its affluent elite, racialized minority, especially given the fact that statisticians tells us that over half of the urban population in South Africa lives in townships and in informal settlements. How can you be servicing a city, a province, and running it well when you do not take care of over half the population in that area? They govern to maintain and entrench the status quo, which was too aptly and succinctly described by Edgar Peters, the director of the African Center of Cities at the University of Cape Town, when he said, and I quote, "Cape Town was conceived with a white-only center surrounded by contained settlements for the black and colored labor forces to the east, each hemmed in by highways and rail lines, rivers and valleys, and separated from the affluent white suburbs by protective buffer zones of scrubland," and I close quote. No, they are listening. This is why I'm quoting for them, Chief Whip. So contrast all that with our ANC-led administration here in Gauteng, Honorable Premier, which is governed by the ANC in the interest of society, but it is unashamedly and unapologetically biased towards poor, marginalized, and impoverished black majorities in order to promote historical redress, hence our aggressive program of radical socio-economic and spatial transformation. So the rest I will put in the Hansard so that those who are interested will read. But I thought it's important that we start by demystifying some of the myth that was told by those in the opposition. The Premier did speak about the solar farm project. And if the members were listening, that solar farm project, it's a triple P. So the Honorable Member, Dintswalo Msima, was basically trying to create an impression that the Premier said we are issuing a tender. Hence, he wanted names of companies that have been appointed. So there are no names of companies. There will not be names. But those who have resources, who want to invest on this project are in line and they are investing. So that's the first myth that we must clarify. The second myth that we must clarify is that he says the Premier promised 1.2 billion. He's correct. In fact, the provincial government went further to increase it to 1.3 billion. And that 1.3 billion, honorable members of this August House, has been spent already, and it's being spent, and you would have seen the Premier through City Power when we are rolling out what we call mini-grids in the informal settlements. Because a lot of the people in the informal settlements are forced to connect illegally because they don't have access. And we've taken a conscious decision as part of making sure that we lessen the burden on the grid so that you put more people from the informal settlements. That way you lessen the burden on the grid, and those who can pay will be able to pay in the grid. So this is very important, comrades, as we go to explain to our communities what is it that we are doing, despite the fact that we don't have a responsibility and competency in terms of the law to intervene on electricity. But because we understand the strategic nature and the importance of this province of Gauteng, we are investing in all our hospitals. In all our hospitals and clinics, we are rolling out solar batteries and taking most of them off the grid so that the patients must have good experiences when they go there. So, because limited understanding and lack of comprehension, the member was just speaking all over the place, everything. I don't know how are you going to respond, Premier, because I don't know what you are saying. So that is the problem. That is the problem. But the other myth that this member tries to spread is that crime wardens are making copies in police stations. But what he doesn't know, because he lacks comprehension and is not honest, is that to do those copies and certify, you have to be a commissioner of oath. In fact, we are commissioner, we can do that. And I think they should be going there to help us with copies and all, so that they make themselves useful. We can release the police to the streets. And that's what, that's a commitment I think we must do as a public, that we will go and relieve the police because we want them to fight crime. But he also does not want to acknowledge that in his speech, the Premier did say that there's a problem of crime. And not just in the speech, even in several interviews and all that. And because there's a problem of crime, the Premier did say that we are not only enlisting the services of the police wardens, but we are also going further to give the police cars so that every police station can have at least a car or two, and they will be able to service our people. But because they are electioneering and they want to lie and say that we are not doing anything, they will say this. So, and once again, because the honourable member is all over the place, he talks about the crisis of water. But what he's not saying is that that is the competence of national and provincial government. And where they are governing, and they've got the responsibility and the competence in Tshwane, they are not doing it. But he wants to come and blame us for a water crisis. But he's also not acknowledging that this is a systematic problem. It's not just it's like ANC doesn't want people to have water. By the way, even the issue of electricity, there's been an improved vast access to those who never had a thing. Hence, the grid is now overloaded. And it's unfortunate that at some point, ESCOM might have dropped the ball and lapsed when they started these programs that are there of different. So this thing must be explained properly. So the reason why they will come back and try to to make noise when the Premier speaks, because they don't want the message to get out there that indeed we know what is the problem and in fact we're doing something. In fact, I was disappointed by a member, and I think we must send our condolences to Member Albert. You know, I've never seen such common sense. Ne? You ask Kuri, if you are saying you are delivering, but why do you have to continue delivering? It's simple. Remember, in 1994, in fact, the first census, 96, says there were 7.3 million people in Gauteng. So now there's about 16 million people in Gauteng. The stats are saying we've built more than 1.3 million people, houses, and now there's about 1.2 million people who need houses. But it doesn't mean we have not built 1.3 million houses. So I realize, again, and you know, Aban Basekaya, they don't understand the things that we see. Because ordinarily, we would want to sit here, debate, because we are not allergic to criticism in the ANC. We are from a robust tradition. We would want to engage with them constructive, but these ones, the poor guys can see they don't understand these ones where they are. There is no conception. There's the red ones, like so you then realize it's a problem. Then you listen to Unel. Honorable Nel, he says all these things, but he doesn't build on what Honorable Mutara says. Because Honorable Mutara makes a very important point. The fact that our economy is not in isolation. Our economy is tied up with the economy of the world. In fact, Europe and America are one of the biggest, trading partners of South Africa. Ford is an American company, by the way. I don't know if they were not here, they don't hear. And what they don't know, and they don't want to say, is that the Gauteng government, led by the ANC, for the automotive sector to be where it is, we invested money as the ANC-led government. So, because, Tadem Simang here, he was a modeler, you know. So, he was a modeler. So the problem is that now he allows the oppressors, his oppressors. So this is Ntwalo of a special type, Ntwalo Msima, who has been liberated, but because he comes from a family where the uncle was an askari, killing our people, perhaps, and now he was influenced to be subjected to continued oppression by his oppressors. But Ramulifo and all that, so I thought I must just say all those things. Thank you very much, Chess.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Maile. We won't be breaking for a few minutes. The Premier will immediately respond to the debate. Honorable Premier, your opportunity.
Thank you so much,
respond.
Chair of Chairs. Truly appreciate the opportunity. I want to acknowledge and thank the presence of our Chief Whip, members of the Executive Council, as well as the leadership that is representing all political parties in the House. I also want to acknowledge the young doctor that was here earlier on, as well as those that are in the gallery. Chair of Chairs, it's always said, if you accept the call to leadership, you must be willing to be misunderstood, criticized, opposed, accused, and even rejected. I want to repeat that statement. If you accept the call to leadership, you must be willing to be misunderstood, criticized, opposed, accused, and even rejected. The debate this morning demonstrated the misunderstanding that other political parties attributed to our State of the Province address. it is quite clear that their preparations were shallow and the arguments that they've presented cannot hold water. Actually, out of the debate today, it's clear that there's no single party is ready and able to lead this province beside the African National Congress. We humble ourselves to our citizens to witness the limitations of the political parties that are claiming to be ready to lead this province. We humble ourselves to the citizens of this province to really dig deeper to the debates and the arguments that have been presented here, that I want to respond to some of them, but I'm excited that fellow members of this House that are on this side, have beautifully responded to some of the issues that have been raised. Chair of Chairs, we presented a solution to the economy of our province. None of the debaters today either matched or presented an alternative offer to the issue of the economic growth of our province. We were bold enough to declare that the reliance on gold mining in our province is a thing of the past and that is going to be confined to the region of Western. That will formulate new ideas, and those ideas have been placed, cemented, and they are now a deep foundation that we can now move on to ensure that we attract various investment in those areas. There is one corridor that, and I understand why, there is one economic corridor that the team here from the opposition party led by Member Msimang, they have been emphasizing that part, which is the Tshwane economic zone. And as I said, if you accept the call to leadership, you must be willing to be misunderstood. And they say and they claim that the African National Congress or this government can't claim that the preservation of offices of ambassadors in Tshwane, it's not a creation of this democratic government. Because any other ambassador can open any other office in any other area. But our argument is that the public sector on its own is an economy. That the public sector on its own can create opportunities. That there must be a concentrated area where it can be the house or it can be the headquarters of public sector growth. And it's within that context that we said we'll urge new ambassadors to open their offices in Tshwane. We'll ensure that the African Parliament is opened in Tshwane, and we'll ensure that government offices remain in Tshwane. Because if you do that, you know that you create jobs and opportunities around that particular area. So anyone that therefore wants to claim that we didn't present that aspect correctly, it's false. So I won't go to other economic corridors that we brilliantly unpacked to establish what we have done. But what is key, Chair of Chairs, and I'm glad that Member Mutara beautifully explained it. Thanks, Member Mutara. The Tshwane Economic Zone was established and motivated by the Gauteng Provincial Government and with the support of national government to declare it as a special economic zone. And out of that, we attracted investment from institutions like Ford and other things. So for anyone to claim that we want to claim something that we have nothing to do, if we did invest almost 3.2 billion rands now for that economic zone to allow the new area where Ford is trying to expand their production, that's not going to be possible. It's our intervention, it's our investment, and it's an indication of the work that we wanted to do. But there is this element that confuses me, but I just want to clarify it for the sake of clarifying. I was not aware that people are not aware, especially on the other side. Member Mutara will tell you, our office will tell you, and I think even Member Maile will tell you, They need, and that's the request, and that's the iron of this. The need for us to establish a new railway line between Silverton and Gqeberha is the request of Ford so that they can expand. If we didn't agree to it, that investment would have not been made. And therefore to be accused, that we are claiming easy victory out of the investment of Ford is really, and that we are now putting a new railway line, we are abandoning that railway. That railway line debate has been there for the last 2 years. We are just putting it in the public space now because we are on the verge of realizing it and ensuring that it's done. Ford has been on record that they don't want to take their cars to the Durban port. They prefer the Gqeberha port on condition that we develop a new railway line with Transnet. And in the last 18 months, myself, the Premier of Eastern Cape, as well as the Premier of Free State, together with the Minister of Public Enterprise and the leadership of Transnet, we have been planning for this railway line, and this railway line will go live, or the construction for that railway line will go live around 2025. That's how you entice investors and put all the necessary resources. So we can't be accused that the investment of Ford, we are just claiming it for the sake of ensuring that we reach. We are putting up an extra 4 billion rands actually for that investment to proceed. Member Msimang, let's be honest, honorable members here. We advise that we must not be personal, Member Makubele. But I doubt whether he slept at home because he didn't prepare. He didn't prepare. Let's be honest, colleagues. In the last 6 years that I've been in this House, this is the worst performance of an opposition leader to the State of the Province address. It lacks depth, it's dictated by common sense, it relies on gossiping, and many unfounded allegations. Because I thought Member Msimang had what he called an alternative State of the Province address that he arranged. That reality was that he must not address it to people that don't know him. He must come and present it here so that we can debate it. He takes that alternative State of the Province address, hide it because it knows it's riddled with lies, and he come here and argue from the basis of common sense, which was shameful, to be quite frank. And that is why Member Chavalala got the loudest cheers than his chair, and that I think Member Chavalala is on the way out if he's not careful, because that Member Msimang does not allow. Let me clarify the issues that he has raised. I want to start with the Zamazamas. We put it in our report that the work of the soldiers have yielded dividends, and we explained how many incidents we stopped underneath there and what we have done. We said out of the assistance of the army, 9,224 Zamazamas were arrested, and there was a recovery of 1,533 stolen vehicles. So if you say that is not an impact, I'm not sure what is it that we need to say or to do. But I want to clarify this issue, Imam, member. I thought you would clarify it, but let me clarify it. There's this debate to say when we want to go in a private-public partnership to build 18 hospitals, out of what the Minister of Finance said yesterday, that they are repositioning the public partnership because of our initiatives and the ideas that we are presenting, that we are clutching to straws. This thing is not going to happen. Already there are 3 private hospitals that are working with us. 3 private hospitals. So if you say the 18 is a dreamer, like one publication said, reduce it to 15 because we have 3 already that are working out of that 18. And I'll quote them. You go to Tembisa Hospital. There is a private hospital there called Zamuguhle. That hospital is now treating patients from public hospital because of the private-public partnership we have with that hospital. So it's not a dream. You go to Selby here in Elof. Yeah. There is the Solomon Sticks Murewa private hospital. It's treating patients from public hospital because of the private-public hospital a partnership that we have. You go further down here in Parktown, there is Nelson Mandela Children's Hospital that was a private institution. It's treating public patients from Rahima Musa Hospital because of the private-public hospital. So we are not dreamers, we are doers. And that is why I will always remind them that no sunrise will find us where sunset left us. Days are never counted backwards. So it will be less talk, more work all the way, and it's quite clear that they don't understand them. So let's clarify it officially. We received a proposal from workers who on their own galvanized their own resources, saved those resources within National Treasury because of the ideas that we have in Gauteng. They approached the Gauteng government to say, we want to build more hospitals, we want to assist you to have a pharmaceutical company, we want to assist you to build more houses, we also want to assist you to have a state bank, we want to assist you to get a reliable transport system in Gauteng. On the basis of our savings, we want to partner with you. What's wrong with that? Yeah. What's wrong with that? But I will tell you what is wrong, honorable members. It's because for the very first time, we don't go to the Investec of this world. For the very, very first time, we don't go to the commercial banks of this world. For the very, very first time, we don't go to machonistas of this world. We are going to workers who are prepared to give us their resources to improve the life of our people in our province. That's the reason why that this about investment is making them to be scared the way they are. The second one, Chair of Chairs, before I sit down, because I really don't want to respond to people who have decided that yeah. The second one is the issue of e-tolls. We were the first one to approach National Treasury to scrap the e-tolls. And our argument is very easy. These roads might be in Gauteng, but they are not roads for people of Gauteng alone. And people of Gauteng can't be punished by having these roads in our province. And therefore, there must be some form of compensation or some form of contribution from national government. National government wanted us to contribute 60%. We are proud that we pushed that back to almost 30%, and with the capable leadership of Treasury, led by MEC Mamabolo, we have approached institutions that are willing to assist us so that this chapter is closed once and for all. And we're excited about that particular intervention. They thought this part is not going to be resolved. They never thought that is going to be resolved. But we can declare now that we have resolved it and we'll have that process moving on. MEC Maile, I thought you will respond to him. He go and visit Madala Hospital, hostel, and Alex Women Hostel, forgetting under their joint leadership with the Action SA, that the one that made that hostel. We said to them, and I'm glad none of them debated on that aspect, go to the 6 hospitals, hostels that we are responsible for, and come back here and tell us that the things that we said we have done there are not true. What ofremba? Where's hostel is in your room? Yeah? No, I'm saying, what ofremba? So it can't be our issue. We are proud and want to send this message to Indunas in the hostels and the citizens of hostels that this government have made it possible today to wash with home water. This government have made it today to clean your rooms every day or every week. This government have made it possible today to employ people from hostels to be in the wardens and to be in nurses' panel because of the interventions that we have made. See, Pispa. Oi, oi. So that's our approach on the hostels, and we are proud. And we made it a public call. We made it a public call. Let all the municipalities take care of their own hostels as well. But if they don't, they must watch out. We will come and intervene because we can't allow human rights be trampled by governments that don't care about people that are staying in you know, members Simon sometimes forget Imam. He really forgets that this is the state of the province address of Gauteng, not state of the province address of Western Cape. He comes here to unleash things about Western Cape here. And it's quite clear that they are panicking. They know, they thought this province is up for grabs. They realize that it's difficult in Western Cape that they must go there to go and defend that Western Cape. You know, so we are not going to surrender this province to people who don't even have a clue on to run government. We are not going to surrender this government to people who are not ready to govern. We are not going to surrender this government to a whole lot of people that can't even sit in a meeting to debate. We can't do that. We are not going to allow those particulars. So that's where we stand. And he also said, and Member Mutala, I thought you will put it to him because it's clear. That's why I'm saying I doubt he slept at home because the preparations were not that up to scratch. Because we told him that in the speech that there are 3,000 sponsor shops that we have improved. It's in the speech. He comes here that no, you didn't come back to raise that thing. And so it's something that we will leave and not bother ourselves to deal with it. I want to really deal with, is it Mr. Nell? No, before Nell is Madam Bosch. He says that the e-panic button is not working. Honourable members, let's be practical. Go to your app store now and say Gauteng e-panic button to your app store. And if you do that, you will see something like this. So if a member comes into the house and say that this thing it's not there, Chief Whip, is an indication that indeed you are dealing with many other things. So, Member Letswalo, Member Nkomorale Huku, Member Maile, Member Fasia, who am I missing? Thank you so much for the excellent debate. Chief Whip, thank you so much for the excellent debate and the demonstration that you have presented that those that claim to have a superior knowledge, they can learn a lot from what we are doing from this side. Thank you so much, Chair and Chair.
Thank you very much, Honourable Premier. It's a demonstration that they slept at home. This brings us to the end of our sitting. The next sitting will be on the 27th of February, 2024 at 10 o'clock. Please sleep at home on Monday. Thank you.
Yes.
Madam Chair,